It's the 25th day of July 2025, and we are glad to be still here, to be alive, to continue what the Lord Himself has given us. You know what? Sometimes life becomes so difficult. It's even hard for you to get up from the bed to prepare for work. But you know what? You need to be driven by the motivation to do something to impact humanity positively. And sometimes when something has become so difficult and challenging, you should know that there is glory in surmounting that challenge. So if you are tired of getting up very early and to prepare for work, you need to know that there's glory in you surmounting that tiredness for you to get to work and contribute to your quota to building Mother Ghana. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. A day after the media review budget was presented in Parliament, what are your key takeaways? We'll review them here on the show. We'll start the show with the AM news as usual. After that, we'll bring you what the papers are reporting. But after the news, we'll bring you sports first to tell you what's happening in sports. And then we'll bring you what the papers are reporting this morning. Professor Isaac Bodi is Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance, UPSA. He will be telling us more about the budget. Professor Michael Ayamga is Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. He is an applied economist, so what a selection. And we have Dr. Benny Asher, political analyst and lecturer at UPSA. And then after that, we'll move into the big stories. Now, yesterday, the media review budget was presented in Parliament, and you know the bigger items that were presented there, big push, what the government intends to do with big push. Many roads will be constructed. Was your road captured? Well, in my constituency, I heard that some 1/6 constituencies need roads, and I'm sure, is part of them. So was yours captured? Join us as we review that. Isaac Ofieje is lead data analyst. Here at Joy News will be joining us. Mary Kwating Dakon is Associate Director, Tax Services at PwC. She'll be joining. And Dr. Sarah Mkawo, a senior lecturer, UCC School of Business. They will be helping us to analyze the budget. And again, we will be joined by someone from the minority side. They walked out of the chamber before the budget was presented, but we'll be joined by former Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. Stephen Amwa, to help us analyze this. Well, we'll also bring you some conversations because we'll talk about fibroids. We know how that is also impacting our women. Uterine polyps will also be here. Uterine fibroids are very common, affecting a significant percentage of women and can have a range of impacts on their health. Approximately, we understand that 20 to 80% of women will develop fibroids by age 15. That's huge. Now, in females aged 15 to 54 years, uterine fibroids account for an average of 29% of hospitalizations for gynecological disease. What are we doing? How can we avert this? Dr. Paddy Ayete is from Elimas Health. Will be here. And then we'll also talk about agribusiness with Agri Impact. They are doing a lot in the agri space. They'll be joining us for us to talk about that. And then your baby girl, Noella Karian Yale, will be coming away with a corner where she'll be jesting you about what's happening in the entertainment world. That will be our packet for you today. My name is Samuel Kojo, and as usual, I do this always with Sweetie Abochi. Thanks for making us part of your morning. Welcome. Let's start it with the AM News. Good morning. Welcome to the AM News, and let's start with our first story. The government is celebrating what it calls a major economic turnaround, painting a picture of a nation emerging from the shadows of economic despair to full recovery. Presenting the 2025 media budget review, Finance Minister Dr. Kesiela Toforson insisted the storm is over, backed by a falling inflation, a rebounding city, and stronger reserves. We have more in this report.
It was a dramatic start to the 2025 media budget session. The Minority Caucus led by Frank Anodompre, walked out of Parliament after the Speaker cut short concerns about electoral violence during the Ablekuma North by-election.
We cannot be part of the presentation of the media budget. And to that extent, Speaker, to that extent, we are exiting the Parliament and cannot be part of this process.
Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel Atoforson rose to deliver what he described as the story of Ghana's economic revival.
Right Honourable Speaker, beyond the numbers, this is a story of sound leadership, better economic management, and a restoration of hope to a nation once in despair.
Dr. Forson says inflation has dropped from 23.8% at the end of last year to 13.7% in June 2025, the lowest in over 3 years.
The Ghana cedi has demonstrated exceptional resilience and strength in recent months. At the end of June 2025, the Ghana cedi appreciated by 42.6% against the US dollar, 30.3% against the British pound, and 25.6% against the euro. This is a significant reversal compared to the same period in 2024 when the cedi depreciated by 18.6%, 17.9%, and 16.0% respectively. I repeat, so far, we have almost reversed all the cedi depreciation in 2022, 2023, and 2024. This level of appreciation has never happened in the history of our country. Mr. Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker, fellow citizens, Ghana cedi no apeke.
But the recovery story is not just in numbers. The government says it is also spending, not just saving. It listed payments covering bondholders, free SHS, NHIS, and even allowances for teacher and nurses trainees.
An amount of $700 million US dollars of Eurobond obligations has been paid. An amount of 10 billion to domestic bondholders has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.9 billion Ghana cedis to the District Assembly's Common Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.7 billion Ghana cedis to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 9.1 billion Ghana cedis to the energy sector for stable power supply has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 5 billion Ghana cedis of arrest has been paid. Right Honourable Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion to the Ghana Education Trust Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 1 billion Ghana cedis to the free secondary education program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion.
Another major announcement, the full recapitalization of the struggling National Investment Bank.
By taking these major steps, we have preserved depositors' fund valued at 6.4 billion Ghana cedis. We have also saved over 900 direct jobs at the National Investment Banks. So, Speaker, we have preserved an indigenous Ghanaian bank. Mr. Speaker, let me state this. Unlike the previous administration, we chose to spend to save a bank than spend to collapse a bank.
Dr. Forson also outlined major infrastructure priorities, from roads and bridges to hospitals and e-learning centers, under the Big Push and 24-hour economy programs. And with prices still biting, the Finance Minister made a direct appeal to traders.
I wish to take this opportunity to thank our cherished traders at Mokola for their valuable insight. Mr. Speaker, the update on the cedi and the prices, as said earlier, clearly shows that we have taken deliberate and decisive action to ensure that the challenges with exchange rate and prices are tackled head-on. Mr. Speaker, let me assure all Ghanaians that the stability in the exchange rate and the lower prices we are experiencing will be sustained. will be sustained.
Citing improved credit ratings and rising investor confidence, the government says it is borrowing less and spending more strategically without asking for any additional appropriations.
Mr. Speaker, macroeconomic target. Economic development in the first half of the year do not warrant a revision to the macroeconomic target and the appropriations bill. Mr. Speaker, I am not asking for additional money from the Appropriations Act.
Dr. Atuforson says this is the economic reset Ghana was promised and insists the data backs it. But with political tension rising and cost of living pressures persisting, the road ahead may still be bumpy.
Away from that, in a dramatic show of protest, members of the minority in Parliament staged a walkout just moments before the presentation of the 2025 mid-year budget review. But the action did not end in Parliament, led by its leaders. The minority moved in a convoy to deliver separate petitions to the diplomatic corps, the presidency and CODEO, alleging electoral violence, security manipulation, and government inaction on illegal mining. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante was embedded in the convoy and filed this report.
On the day set for major national economic briefing, the minority caucus in Parliament chose protest over participation, staging a dramatic walkout just before the finance minister could present the 2025 mid-year budget. Their message: democracy is under threat. Led by Deputy Minority Leader Patricia Pejay and Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre, the group took their protest beyond Parliament to the gates of the diplomatic community.
Today, you agree with me that we are even having a statement on the floor of Parliament on the mid-year review. But we find it very urgent to come and protest and let the whole world know that the violence that took place at the rerun of our election is something that needs to be addressed by the current government.
The petition cited incidents during the Blekuma North parliamentary rerun, including voter intimidation, physical assaults, and what the minority described as security forces looking away while chaos reigned.
The doors are locked, but that's what you can see here.
From there, the convoy proceeded to the seat of government, the Jubilee House. A banner reading "Stop the Violence" led the charge. The minority were welcomed by the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, alongside Deputy Chiefs of Staff, Standogbe and Nana Oyebampoado, as well as the President's Legal Counsel, Marietta Brew Apiapo. The minority's petition accused the government of turning a blind eye to the deteriorating security situation and failing to act on illegal mining ravaging the environment.
We are upbeat about subsequent elections to be held in our country. We are also worried about Galamsey. And it was one of your messages that you trumpeted with all the promise, rightly or wrongly. Now it's getting out of hand. Now, if we don't hear anything, and it is business as usual, it is absolute silence, we are not going to hear anything. This is just the beginning of a series of actions we are going to stage in this country.
Deputy Chief of Staff Standogbe accepted a petition on behalf of the presidency.
So I've received your petition on behalf of the Chief of Staff and the President, and we'll do well to present it to you.
The final stop was the coalition of domestic election observers, CODEO, where the MPs sought independent validation of their claims and called for reform. From Parliament to the presidency and the diplomatic community, the minority say this is only the beginning of a broader resistance. Whether their concerns lead to change or to deepen political tensions remains to be seen. The minority did not stay in this chamber to listen to the finance minister present the mid-year budget review. But deep truth sources and very high-placed persons are telling me they're going to study the content of the finance minister's presentation and do make a public statement on that as to whether or not they agree with the finance minister that the economy has turned for the better and they have improved on what they inherited from the NPP or not. Time will tell. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Now, 13 years after his passing, government is taking steps to restore a monument built in memory of the late President John Evans Atta Mills. At a solemn wreath-laying ceremony in Cape Coast, President Mahama announced plans to renovate the now neglected Atta Mills Presidential Library, a facility once envisioned as a national hub for learning and legacy. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Sorrowful hymns fill the air as hundreds gather, including family members of the late president, government officials, NDC party leaders, President Mahama and Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, all present alongside other top dignitaries. Songs eulogizing the late president's humility were also sung during the ceremony. In his speech, Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, expressed relief that the confusion which marred last year's celebration when another group led by former NDC executive Kuku Anyudo held a parallel event at the same venue has been resolved.
Exactly a year ago, when I was invited to give a brief comments as I'm doing, at this commemoration, I struggled to contain my anger about what I saw in the morning. But I mustered enough courage to declare that what we were seeing on that day will be the last time any such thing will happen at the commemoration of the passing of the King of Peace. Because for the past so many years, we have had to endure the contradiction of commemorating the passing of a man of peace in the midst of some confusion.
The late president's sister, Araba Kwashi, appealed to President Mahama to intervene in the deteriorating state of the library built in honor of her brother,
which was inaugurated about 10 years ago in Cape Coast, which seems not to have anything going on there. But we hope that as we are back, something will happen.
President Mahama assured the family that the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Library will be renovated and upgraded. He acknowledged the country's current challenges and said the reset agenda he's championing is grounded in the foundation of the Better Ghana agenda initiated by the late President Mills.
Our auntie raised the issue of the Professor Mills Memorial Library. The Honorable Kofi Totobi-Kwache has been involved with that library from the time it was built. And after we left office, it was handed over to the University of Cape Coast, I remember. After we left office, it fell into a state of disrepair. And we had held this discussion already. And I can tell you that Kofi Totobi and a small group are already working on bringing that memorial library back to the shape in which it should be.
Wreaths were laid by President Mahama, Vice President Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and other top party dignitaries in honor of the late statesman.
Now, the rector of the Indian School of Business and Technology, Reverend Professor Daniel Ejapon Nyako, has called on government and education authorities to give greater attention to the welfare of Ghanaian teachers. His appeal comes in the wake of recent protests by some teachers at the Ghana Education Service headquarters over unpaid allowances. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the 7th quadrennial and 54th Regional Delegates Conference of the NAT Central Region Chapter, Reverend Professor Nyako underscored the vital role teachers play and urged that they be treated with the respect and recognition they deserve. Abigail Esel Nkrumah has more in this report.
Delegates from across several municipalities and the metropolitan in the central region gathered at the Indom School of Business and Technology for the 7th Quadrennial 54th Regional Delegates Conference. The Central Regional Chairperson of NAT, Benjamin Wilberforce Ishen, indicated that the conference is a platform to exchange ideas on the challenges of education and teaching in the 21st century, reflecting on the theme of the conference.
The theme for conference is Educating an African Face for the 21st Century, the role of policymakers and the unions in Ghana. This has a lot of meaning for governments and us. This forum will offer us the opportunity to learn and share ideas on the vested issues of education and teaching in the 21st century, as we are obliged not only to work together, but succeed together.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, has accumulated several achievements over the years, and the national president of the association, Reverend Isaac Owusu, acknowledged some of these successes.
Once we are growing as an organization, there is a need for us to get our own hospital. And so we purchased the facility. As at the time we purchased, we were only having one structure. But if you go there today, with the help of the two boards, we've been able to put up additional structures at the hospital. And most importantly, we needed a PET scan that can locate exactly which part of your body is the cancer hiding. You cannot just look at the person's appearance and say, oh, if you are suffering from cancer, then it's here. And it was a very expensive machine. The whole of West Africa, it is only Nigeria that has a PET scan. Kwalibu is not having. Konfanochi is not having. But today, as we speak, NAT has a PET scan in Ghana.
Reverend Professor Daniel Ijepon Nyako called on government and education stakeholders to pay critical attention to the Ghanaian teacher.
It is high time the government of Ghana and the educational authorities paid a more serious attention to the Ghanaian teacher at all levels of our educational system. Educating today's child is no longer a linear task. It demands innovation, equity, and collective responsibility. By embracing their respective roles and collaborating effectively, policymakers and unions in Ghana and Africa can lay the foundation for a more resilient, enlightened, and globally competitive generation.
From Ayen Sudo in the KEA municipality, Abigail Lissel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
In a contest that delivered both brilliance and inspiration, Aminiampong Senior High School yesterday qualified for the 2025 NSMQ after scoring a record-breaking 82 points, the highest in the regional qualifier so far, under the leadership of a fiscally challenged teacher. We have more in this report.
Our coordinator is the best coordinator in the whole. I can say our coordinator is the best coordinator because she has been training us very well. She has been giving us all the equipment and all the books that we need. And now he has been punishing us a little bit, and he also likes insulting us. That makes us more encouraged.
One last one. What role did your coordinator play in this particular qualification? We've seen that right after the contest, they've been praising him, raising him up. Is there anything special that he added to the training?
Yes. Our coordinator has been helping us very much. He's a very hard-working man. Sometimes I recall he will be leaving campus around 10 p.m. For a man of his stature, it's very hard. Even I couldn't do that. Even as a student, around 10 I get sleepy and all that. But he will be with us from 6 at as early as 6 o'clock. He's in school and will be leaving around 10 to 11 p.m. we have to clap for Onipa. Onipa has done very well.
Right. Well, that's a business update now. And senior country partner at auditing and accounting firm PwC, Fish Ahiagbo, has stated that the mid-year budget will instill and inspire confidence to the investor community. According to him, although the macroeconomic indicators are pointing to the right direction, government still need to show commitment to fiscal prudence. Reacting to the 2025 mid-year budget presentation, Mr. Ahiagbo urged managers of the economy must work at sustaining the positive trajectory.
Well, I think the signals are positive. The signals are indeed positive because if you look at the budget that was read in March and the performance for the first few months, or let's even say for the first half year, we're pretty much on track. And the projections, I actually believe that he was being a little conservative in terms of, because he maintained the targets for the year. But if you look at the progress that we've made in the first half, one would anticipate that the end year numbers would actually be pretty strong. I think he acknowledged that when he spoke about inflation, for example, when he said we expect to meet the target ahead of the end of the year, the 11.9% target. So to your question, from an investor's perspective, I think it instills and inspires confidence, which we've seen as reflected in the exchange rate, for example. We've seen the debt to GDP ratios and all of those indicators moving in the right direction. The question is, which is always the case, whether we can stay the course.
And that's it for the news on the AM show. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Please do stay.
Sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. And tonight at 7 p.m., Ghana's Black Queens will battle South Africa for a third-place finish at the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Ghana lost 2-0 to the Banyana in the group stages and are now hoping to exact revenge. Lawrence Beidou has more in this report.
And so for the final time, the Black Queens will take to the field fighting for that bronze medal against South Africa. The dream of bringing the trophy home wasn't quite able to come to fruition, but there's one more time to fight for glory. The Black Queens have wrapped up their final training session in anticipation of revenge against South Africa. Well, for Kemlas Björkegren, he believes his side have been better since facing the 2022 champions a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the first game, of course, we played against South Africa. We lost with 2-0. I think it was a close game, a little bit of a 50-50 game. They scored, we didn't. But I also know that the important for us have been to grow into this tournament. And I said that already from the start. I know that this group wouldn't do the best game in the first game. We have been playing better and better and better. I think that's a strength in this group that we haven't been together for so long time. I signed with Ghana in February or something like that. And for I think 20 or 24 players, they're doing the first tournament ever, and many like young players, and they are learning and they are growing. Like Stella here, I mean, she didn't play in the start of the tournament, and in the Morocco game, at least like for 60 minutes, she was outstanding. And I mean, the future is really bright for us, and the future is coming fast. So I think we are already a better team now than we were like a few weeks ago.
Midfielder Stella Nyamiche, who has starred in the last two games, is also optimistic about the Queen's chances of beating South Africa.
We have prepared very well for this game, and the training that we have trained, we are mentally prepared for this game, and we are ready to deliver on Friday.
South Africa boss Zeri Ellis is hoping they can also go back home to meet their people with a bit of glory.
Obviously, the ambition was to get to the final and go back to back, and a bit of disappointment in not reaching it, but we still have a game to play, and we want to end on a high note. and obviously go home with our head up, heads out high. We've got one training session to go today. It's not a lot that you can do. We've done so many things during the tournament and how to prepare. We've played against Ghana, and it's always difficult to play the same team twice in the tournament.
Who gets to clinch that bronze medal, that third position between Ghana and South Africa? 90 minutes at the Labi Zauri Stadium will be the decider, or we could head for yet another 120 minutes of action or possibly penalty shootouts. From the Raja Athletic Academy, Lawrence Beidu for Joy Sports.
Now, Sports and Recreation Minister Kofi Adams is pledging improved infrastructure to support the government's recreation agenda. He says the plan is a top priority for President John Mahama, and the goal is to scale up recreational projects to promote wellness among Ghanaians.
The efforts of the Lance Children's Park will soon see serious facelift to support the recreational agenda of the country. And His Excellency the President did not rename the ministry or reorganize the ministry to sports and recreation for nothing. He did so because he wants us to pay some particular attention to issues of recreation, because recreation will help bring about wellness, and wellness will mean that better working hours for those, the workforce, less expenses on health bills, because people will recreate, people will do things that will keep them healthy. So the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases, will drastically reduce. So we've taken note. Being here was not only just to support the quiz, but also a learning opportunity. And we've taken some time to look through and see how they have utilized their spaces. And we need to create that. Unfortunately, in Ghana, we are taking over every space and raising concrete instead of allowing for community spaces for purposes of recreation. We need to revisit that. The district assemblies must help plan and identify areas they must protect for purposes of recreation and sports development. It's very key, and when I get back, we'll have conversation with my colleague, the local government minister, and maybe see how we will plan something along those lines.
Now, and herbal medicine manufacturer Piwak Natural Health are back for the tournament. They have been speaking to my colleague Muftar Nabila Abdullahi about their targets for the competition, which takes place on August 9 at the University of Ghana Stadium.
No wonder you're all naturally healthy. All of you are healthy. All of you are healthy. It is another edition of Joint Sports Invitational Tournament, and Piwak, they are back. I remember last year, Xavier was after my heels. He said, he said you won the race walk, right? The sack race and the
female sack race, and we're not giving anything.
Wow, look.
And, we won the 5 kilometers walk too. We had the first, and I think the swimming, the final, we had the second.
Wow, those are very good numbers. So what are you coming with this year?
In fact, this year, we are coming with more fire. We are fully prepared, more than the word prepared itself. So this year is not going to be like last year again.
Last year, your CEO missed out on the penalty shootout. Is there any preparations you have for him this year?
Yes, there is a preparation, but he didn't miss, or he was able to score some, but just that he wasn't able to score all. Yes. So this year, he is also prepared. Don't worry, you will see him on the show.
Piwak, what do you do? What are the products that you have? What do Piwak really do?
Okay, so we are into just one drug, that is 3P garlic mixture. The natural drug across the country, the only medicine that is liquid but is not being cooked it's not been, there is no addition of water to it, but it is in the form of a liquid. In fact, this medicine is a naturally organic medicine, and it boosts the immune system. So we are coming live, and you know our system are already charged. And
the football competition, it didn't also go well for you. What happened?
Yes, for the football match, you know, the time that you people allocated last year was not too good, and
but the other teams also played within the same time.
We didn't even have a very fair knowledge until we got there, and they said it was just a 15-minute straight end. You know, football, anything can happen. But this year, it's not going to be the same. The story has changed.
PWAC is ready for August 9 at the University of Ghana Stadium, where the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament would be happening. Are you ready? We'll soon be in your office as well to have your build-up ahead of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament happening live at the University of Ghana Stadium. Who are we?
PWAC Natural Health, the producers of 3P Garden Mixture.
Who are we?
PWAC Natural Health, the producers of 3P Garden Mixture.
Now, Premier Health Insurance are also talking big about their readiness for the competition.
Yo, 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 yo. We are coming, yeah, 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 yeah. We are coming, yo, 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 yo. We are coming, yeah, 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 yeah. No challenger. No challenger. No challenger. No challenger. It's up. Itself is doing great wonders. So you can see the energy, aside the bit of health, the energy is massive. It's massive.
Okay. So talk to me. When I went to Magdan,
right,
they said they are training at Choco.
Right.
Piva is training at Stamford Bridge.
Hey.
Ayuda is training at Barcelona.
Right.
Where is Premier Health training?
You know what? Today we realized that there is a Ghanaian who is moved from West Ham to Tottenham. Yes. You know where he started from?
Right to Dream.
Right to Dream. That is where we are training.
In fact, you have the right to dream. You just have the right to dream. Yes, you have the right to dream. Yeah. But talk to me about Premier Health Insurance. What makes Premier Health Insurance one of a kind?
We do not dispute the fact that, yes, in the market we have been in as market players. But we have realized that over time, what services we give to our clients through our corporates, our micro, and our international plans as support, what we say is that it is not just about getting business, to massage figures and do all that just to get business, but we want to build a relationship with you. It's more important that we build relationships. And so you realize that in relationships, there will be struggles, there will be fights. But in all of this, because of the love that builds between us, we are supposed to find a certain common ground for us to move. And so irrespective of who you are in the market, once you need health, we should be able to find a product for you. And so Premier Health Insurance, we always say, is the bridge to Premier Healthcare.
You know, last year during the penalty shootout, I saw you next to Ken. I thought Ken was threatening your life. And in the end, it didn't fly. What happened?
Well, last year, as my marketing manager said, yes, we were children. And now we have grown, we are men and women. This year, you realize that we have done targeted recruitment. We have a lot of footballers within them. We are taking everything. Honestly, we want five awards, not even one. But that of Ken, he's not a problem. I have intentionally been to Right to Dream Academy, I have rehearsed, and I know what I can do.
One thing that actually made Premier Health Insurance one of a kind is the fact that their services are quite flexible. Just as we heard from Prince, even if you're in the diaspora and you want to get a health insurance plan for your family in Ghana, Premier Health Insurance is the home. So do not hesitate to get in touch with them because they are the bridge to your Premier Health care. So sign up, be a part of Premier Health Insurance, and you are guaranteed of the perfect services you need when it comes to health insurance. This has been our build-up to the Joint Sports Invitational Tournament here from Premier Health Insurance.
And that's your sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. The newspaper review segment continues right after this. Please stay.
Good morning and welcome back to the AM show. It's time now for us to review the newspapers, but a gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Syntex Tanks. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. My guest joining me for the news review this morning is Professor Isaac Boidi. He's a Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at UPSA. And I also have Professor Michael Ayamga. He's Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority, and he's also an applied economist. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. In fact, not gentlemen, professors. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Siti.
Yeah. Professor Ayamga, we haven't seen you in a while, so I want to start with you. Usually we give our guests a couple of minutes to share their reflections with us in terms of any topical issue that has caught your attention. What's on your mind this morning?
Of course, it can be anything, but
the budget.
The budget. And,
yeah.
It was heartwarming to see how far we have come from the first budget that the Honorable Minister of Finance presented. We were looking at a situation where we were paying almost 5.2% of our GDP to debt that has been recklessly accrued over the last 8 years. And many of us were worried that if we had to use that quantum of our GDP just to service debt, then how are we going to maintain our infrastructure? How are we going to stimulate the real sector to produce and to create the needed jobs that we had? But I was particularly excited yesterday that one figure that struck me was the fact that even in terms of our deficit, government was overperforming its own target by some 110%, just about 0.7% against a target deficit of 1.8%. So I was extremely excited, and it underscored what the president said at the time, that our economy was not just suffering from external shocks, but it was actually suffering from criminal mismanagement. The outlook hasn't changed much in terms of global disturbances and some issues that affect our economy. What has changed is a system that is modest, looking at cost savings, and also working to ensure that there are no leakages in our economy. So going forward, I believe that we have the numbers that excite us, but how do we build on these numbers and make sure that we are transforming them into some of the best deliverables for our people? So that is what I think, and I say kudos to the president, and the Honorable Kessler Tuforsen continues to dumbfound many of us economists. We don't understand what is going on. All some can say is it's not sustainable. But why is it not sustainable? After 7 months, if we are still where we are, I think we need to get on board, be optimistic, and take the bold steps to push the economy on a higher pedestal. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll come back to this topic again because it's all over in the newspapers. But I want to hear your thoughts, Professor Boidi, on in terms of any reflections, but I also know that this is also in your purview, so perhaps you want to reflect on this for us?
I was going to
go somewhere else. Please feel free.
Well, I think I still have to go through the budget discussions. And good morning to Prof, and to you as well, and to your cherished viewers. This morning, I don't think any other media outlets will talk about any other issues apart from the budget, a colorful event. Within the law, the minister had no option than to come to Parliament House, deliver and give an account of the economy. And if you look at the entire document, academically, it was a well-structured document, less editorial flaws. I'm sure for now, most of the documents we are seeing from the NDC administration in terms of the quality of documents, superb. Reader-friendly, there are charts presented, paragraphs, everything nicely packaged.
Right.
But then, economically, I see early signs of highlights of micro improvements in microeconomic indicators. For instance, inflation down from, I think, 23% to 13%. Interest rates from, I think, 23 or so, or 28, all the way to 14. Gross international reserves from 8.9 billion to a double digits to about 11. Then CD appreciation almost at 42%. Then if you take the last, I think, indicator, forgotten that indicator, about 5 or so indicators are showing an upward trend. So on a whole, it was a good event. Minority walked out. I mean, they were right within the laws of Parliament that governs the Parliament House. They walked out, staged a walkout. But let me also digress a bit and indicate that as Ghanaian, I had my expectations.
Okay.
Whether my expectations were met is something that we can discuss. We're not finished today. I was expecting the minister to give us a snapshot of the physical performance and policy adjustments. Two things. And he delivered. But there's one thing I was not too sure that I saw that in a document. About 96 pages document, and in terms of point, about 500 and something points in terms of statements. The minister devoted about 8 pages bashing previous administration. At a point, I thought I was on a political platform where the minister used almost from point 1 to 29. If you have the document, you can check. Instead of focusing on policy directions, what a country should do, you spend all the time, about 8 pages, to bash the previous administration. I don't know whether it was just to let the public know where they picked the country from. But at least, when you inherit any economy, you should know some measures have been put in place first before you take off. And I can give you several accounts of the previous administration, what they have done, what they did, that give you this success that we are talking about.
Right.
So if for no reason, you give some credit to the previous administration in terms of reforms that they did. In terms of reserves, I was talking about reserves, from 8 point something to about 11. It wasn't just a fluke. So I think sometimes there's a need to to give credence to some policies channeled by a previous administration. Right. And we'll be fair with our comments and analysis. But we can take care of the rest of the major issues in the budget later.
I mean, now that we've started, we have to stay on it.
Oh.
So I'll come back to you. Professor Yamga, do you share in his opinion that he spent too much time bashing the erstwhile administration? And also, do you think the minority walking out on on the entire event yesterday to petition various stakeholders and presidential arms of the branches of the executive, did it overshadow the beautiful ceremony, like Prof said, that happened in Parliament?
Yes, I think that was a blot and a dent on our democracy. I can understand, given the shout on the finance minister the last time he presented the budget that he should solve the problem. I think the finance minister came yesterday to Parliament with a solution to the problem and was going to look them in the face and tell them that you said I should solve the problem. I have solved it. I am in the course of actually delivering some of the most remarkable economic performance in our democratic history. And the minority couldn't take that. Secondly, as Prof rightly said, and I've always disagreed with anyone that thinks that we should whitewash or push under the carpet the gross economic mismanagement that this country has been subjected to. And I said here the last time that there is a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations. And that book has been placed there to let people remember the pains they have gone through in order not to repeat them. So anyone that thinks at any point in time that devoting a significant proportion of the budget to the mistakes we made in the past and to the challenges is actually over-exaggerating or is not wanting to give credit. I look at it the other way, that solutions are generated from problems, and anyone who runs from problems cannot claim to be preferring solutions. Yes, I agree that it wasn't from ground zero. Some successes were chalked. That has always been acknowledged. But we can't still run away from the fact that there are huge problems that we are still confronted with. And I just said here that if any country is required to use 5% of its GDP in servicing debts, you can't say we should overlook that.
Okay.
And I'm also surprised that you are not talking of policies. I myself, I said yesterday that I am not excited that we should look at these numbers and just strap them across the media and do nothing about it. I want to see how we transform these into deliverables. And I was happy about the finance minister stating his effort to get the freeze on funding of these projects and to get many of the projects that stalled to come on board. I am particularly worried anytime I go home and I see that the Boku Bridge that leads to my hometown, Zuarungu, is almost at a standstill and people are struggling in the night to navigate those dangerous portions. So I was happy to see many of these roads back on track. I was excited to see that there is some 13.7 billion for the big push agenda that the president announced. And that is actually a long miles away from the challenges we had. Not only did we accumulate huge arrears, we stopped projects, didn't pay contractors. The mismanagement was to the extent that we had a payroll that was bloated by some 70,000 separated and ghost names. And these were leading to serious hemorrhage in our economic system.
That it was
so
within the finance
it was within the finance minister's right.
What they have come
Any day he does not present this problem and present any budget, I will personally have a problem with him. Because not only do I tell the public, I tell my children that this is where our country was. And we need to be awake to that reality. Let's not hide from it.
But Prof, would there come a time where the finance minister is speaking to us or giving us updates on the state of the nation and we don't have to go back to visit how bad it was when they took over? Considering we are over 6 months into this administration, do we still need to keep hammering on how bad the situation was? Considering that you say you have the solutions now, should you just go in and do it?
No, it's reality check.
Yeah?
Reality check is looking at where you are and where you are going. Every year we celebrate our birthdays. We take stocks.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that to count our blessings
Does it
one
end
by
at
one.
some point?
It ends at some point. And I think
But
that
not
even
now.
the minister has watered it down a lot. What he just presented is something that is expected in any budget, any day, that you recap the previous year. The previous year is just last year. Is it not hypocritical for anybody to think that the minister shouldn't refer us to just last year?
All right.
So I don't see that way.
Thank you. Professor Boidi, I'll come to you in a bit. I want to introduce my third guest. We have in the studio Dr. Benny Asha. He's a political analyst and also a lecturer at UPSA. Doc, welcome to the program. Okay, so I'll come back to you in a bit. I just want to get Professor Boidi's concluding thoughts on this matter. So he's saying that, Professor, you've heard him. He says it's important for us to paint a clear picture of where we started, where they started from, what they had to work with, and then we can actually, accurately measure the progress that they are making. That's why we are seeing the 8-page lamentations, like you want to call it.
I like the name you give me.
Yeah.
8-page lamentations.
You started it. I'm just giving you, I'm quoting it for you nicely.
Well,
yeah.
See,
how do you respond to that?
You see, we need to be fair sometimes in what we do. When we mark student scripts and they don't even do well, we find a way to motivate the students, tell the student where the person went wrong.
Okay.
In your document that you presented, you tell the whole world that you have recorded international reserves of 8 points, from 8 point something to 11. You stated in your document of a grade, the ratings, a whole page given to ratings of this country. Now we find ourselves B+ and CCC by other bodies, 2 bodies or so. What it means is that if your rates are down because you're unable to service your debt in the financial circles or in the economic world, you're not credible to be given facility. So how do you restructure those loans to be able to attain the grade that we are talking about? It was someone, debt management, that led into this. Because when you take over administration in 6 months, January to date, tell us some of the policies you have implemented that shock you, that success you are talking about. BOG reserves, we are talking about this. So about 3 important things done by the previous administration. But they had a right either to make reference to previous or not. But I'm saying when you have to be fair with the assessment.
Give what belongs to Caesar to Caesar. That's your point. All right. So, Dr. Asha, let's hear your thoughts. Usually we give our guests a minute or two to reflect on any topical issue, but I think we started right into the mid-year budget review. What's your impression on what happened yesterday, and how would you assess the minorities' role, what they did yesterday by walking out and not sitting and listening to what the finance minister had to offer? But I want to hear your initial thoughts.
Well, thank you very much and good morning. Forgive me, my throat isn't the best.
You're all right.
Now, this is politics, and governments will take credit where they can, and they'll back away from blame where it's possible. I'm not surprised that the majority will make references to mistakes or, difficulties faced by the previous government. They have to do that so that their light will shine. But as Professor Boedi says, you cannot cherry pick what you choose. In the same spirit with which you make references to the bad things that happened, you have to also give credence to where it is due. So that's the way it works, and that's the way it should work. Otherwise, then the bias is too obvious, and you want to come across as somebody who's level-headed and fair. The minority walkout is unfortunate, but again, this is politics, and politicians have to do what they have to do to get their voice heard. And you can't exactly blame them. It happens everywhere.
Okay.
So they clearly have something they disagree with, and they took the step that walking out was in the right order, so that their grievances and thoughts would be heard. And that's what they did.
Okay,
and
so it's just politics.
Well, indeed it is.
Yeah,
indeed.
It is a political space.
Indeed.
So they did what they thought was right. Professor Amka, do you want to conclude on that? Because I saw you making some notes. Otherwise, I want us to get into governments ditching foreign currency. I think for me that was the most interesting thing that stood out for me yesterday. The no longer dollarization of the Ghanaian cedi or the Ghanaian economy. I like that. But if you want to conclude on that.
Yes, I was saying that I don't see any sidestepping of the need to give credit here. The minister didn't say he took it from zero. The minister said from some 8.7 or 8.8 billion to 11.1 billion. If that is not credit, what is it? He didn't say he took it from zero. unless you are saying that the minister shouldn't talk about the fact that they have increased our reserves by some 24.1% in 7 months, which I think is remarkable. Unless you say they shouldn't say that, then I can understand. But if you say they didn't give credit, but the minister mentioned 8.8, I don't know what else you want him to say.
Okay, this is the point where I leave the audience to judge for themselves. You be the, the judge for all of this. So this story is on the front page of Daily Graphic. Mid-year budget review, government ditches foreign currency, CD takes over in contracts. So President John Dramani Mahama has directed that no government awarded contracts should be denominated in foreign currency, irrespective of the source of funding. And the policy starts immediately and is part of measures the government has instituted to curb the persistent and deep-rooted culture of dollarization in the economy, a situation which is undermining public trust and confidence in the Ghanaian cedi. How did this particular news come to you, Dr. Yamga? Considering we have apartments in Accra here that are, quoted, rent is quoted in dollars, school fees quoted in dollars. There's so many things that you ask yourself, why are we in America? But let me hear your thoughts.
Yes, I think it's the last lap in actually de-dollarizing our economy, that we urge the public and the businesses not to do business in dollars, and many of our contracts and engagements were quoted in dollars. It is going to be difficult to move away from that, because if you go to maybe the international market or our creditors to take loans, they'll definitely indicate them in dollars. But domestically, we have a choice to change the narrative, our thinking. Everything you buy, we've gotten to the point that you want to even convert it to dollar when we are in an economy. But something happened earlier on when the cedi started growing. I noticed that some hotels wish they were charging in cedis. And you got there and they felt like, okay, what they were charging in dollars now is much, much less in cedis. So by the management of the economy, we have triggered that reorientation. But then we have to change the way we do our own books. It is official to do that in Parliament, and sometimes I find it worrying. Once we take dollar out, I believe that very soon we'll take the conversion calculator out of our business, and it will transform largely into some positives for us having belief in our economy. As of today, it is not profitable to keep dollars, but because of the psychology of the people, they want to keep dollars. Anytime they get a dollar, they want to keep it, whether the value is going to fall or not. That's because of the psychology. So that directive is going to go a long way in creating a system where we believe and trade with our cedi, which I think economically makes sense now. It's no longer just propaganda. It's no longer just campaign. It is wise to do business in cedis now.
But is it enough that we are only limiting this initiative to government-awarded contracts? Because I think in as much as that is where the chunk of the problem is, there's also a large number of other industries or sectors that operate this way, that if we maybe give it a blanket, not blanket necessarily, if we say that we are stopping this across board, then it's something we're starting afresh. But if you say only government-awarded contracts, people can still go ahead and quote fees and rent and other things in dollars. Is it enough? Or is it a good start?
We are in a free market economy, and you cannot change these things by fiat. What you need to do is to create the economic conditions to bring about that reorientation. And as I indicated, if you stabilize the cedi, the incentive to quote things in dollars will not happen. I remember some time back, my student wrote his answer and converted it to dollar. And I asked him, he jokingly told me that he doesn't want his answer to change the next day because the cedi was unstable. But that was a lighter note, and I think that if we stabilize the cedi, nobody will have the incentive to change to dollars. And I can see that already happening. Many of us can see it. I remember the first time I was here and I told people to ditch their dollars. Those that did continue to send me messages that I saved them millions of cedis. And I think that we've gotten to that point. What is still happening is government not actually leading the way. So yes, by law of fiat or maybe some directive, we can change government behavior in terms of the currency in which we price our contracts and our businesses. But by incentives and prudent management of the economy, we are seeing people increasingly moving to the city. The problem we currently have is a lot of racketeering that I see in the forex market, where we are virtually now is a place where people come to get dollars to even take them to the neighboring countries. So that one, I believe we should combine it with some level of security and surveillance of our markets. Especially, I know some not so pleasant things happen between banks and currency dealers in the black market and the others. And I believe that that is not an economic problem. That is a security problem, and the security services and the national security ought to be up and doing, so that we don't let these economic gains that we are seeing get eroded by some unscrupulous people that want to benefit from this.
Professor Boedi, how do you characterize this move by governments to ditch foreign currency? And do you think it's a good start to actually really sanitize the system? Because I think that it's much more proliferated than government contracts. It's everywhere now. Everything is in dollars. But I want to hear your thoughts.
So before I even answer your question, let me debunk this. I saw something in the budget as well. The first statement of the minister said they've inherited an insolvent, I think, solvent state or insolvent states. For me, when you put some statement out there, you need to support with cross-reference statistics, proper data to indicate that we have inherited an insolvent state. He didn't provide any data from the lamentation thing that he talked about. No data to show, and we don't make such statements. The only reference I have seen happened to be the IMF or the World Bank, where they describe Ghana as debt distress only. They never, no document have ever stated of having a state in which they inherited. So let me debunk that. Then coming back to your issue, no dollarization in our contracts. In fact, I was watching the TV, the presentation at a point in time. I had to move to somewhere to go and do other businesses. And before I left the set, I'm sure that statement he was making, that they were clapping when that thing came up, that going forward, the government has directed that any contract should not be, the dollar should not be the denominator to be used. The issue is that, is it a policy or a directive? I find it difficult to understand. And we had a whole Parliament House clapping when that statement was made. And at the point, for me, I was surprised. Who is a major spender in Ghana here? Is it me? It's the government. You award all these big contracts. You don't need to come and tell me that going forward, I should not give contracts using a dollar. It's just a statement that could be made. Simple.
But I think that's what Professor Yamba was saying, that because it is widespread across board, if we see that the government has started, or they are the ones leading that charge to de-dollarize our economy of a sort, then the other people can follow suit. So they needed to make such a statement at a time like this, so we understand that there's been a change in the climate. So you also followed suit, no?
Right.
No?
I don't get this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because about 90–80% of contract, you award. So don't tell her. You do it. Go ahead.
You'd rather not know?
No, go ahead and start the implementation from the top.
Okay.
Look, in a few days, I'll be picking something on single contract, contract, awarded from January, from when this administration took over to date. You'll be shocked. Things that have gone in there. So I don't think it needed that platform that we should be instructed going forward. These are the things you are going to. You start and go ahead and implement. When you start, people will follow, because that space, that time the minister had, Issues on 24-hour economy, it was there. Ajumara, game changers were there. So spend more time and talk about the game changers that will transform our lives. I'm not saying that it's a bad direct, it's not good for the government to direct us. But when you spend more time to talk about those things, you leave the important things that you have enshrined in your document to tell us. So when we take the entire document, then I'll tell you some of the deficiencies in there, in the policies, the key initiatives of this administration.
All right.
I was waiting to hear major things in the initiatives of this administration. Remember 24-hour economy, the Jumeirah, the Mahama case and all that. No proper funding guidelines were given. So if you had that time, spend those times, talk about those ones. Directly, we understand. We know the impact of when we award contract and it's all about dollars. And like you said, if you go to other places, you rent a house, you pay dollars. And for me, I will never in any way will want anyone to do that.
Were you looking to see or hear like some allocation, budgetary allocation for these projects that you mentioned? But that happened in the actual budgets that they gave us somewhere in March. This is a mid-year budget review. And in fact, I think that what most people were expecting was whether or not we needed a supplementary budget, and that didn't come up. So what you're asking for, the allocations you're asking for, I think they already did that, no?
The mid-year budget...
Especially, okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Make it.
For the big push, which I think was the government's flagship program, or what they think is their unique selling proposition, they spent some time expatiating on, the specifics, or it was just not to your satisfaction. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. That's why I'm staying on this point.
That is all right.
Yeah.
You and I, we want things that will better our lives. I keep saying, I'm on record to have said, our common enemy is poverty.
Well, I can't disagree on that.
It's poverty. Okay. That's all.
Okay.
So when you are coming out with initiatives and policies, come out with those ones that will transform my life. Okay. If you direct the entire nation that when you're going to award contracts, do it in cities. Perfect. But I'm saying that when you get that platform, because that thing can be implemented from the top down, there's no problem. So spend time, give us the timelines, go through the documents, and look at the key initiatives, about 12 that were stated in the budget, the previous budget. So when you get a point to give us an update, half year, the policy adjustment, the snapshot of fiscal performance, tell us where you've got it. Go and look at those initiatives, the highlights we got, and you'll be shocked that if you have a time, you don't spend talking about those things, but rather give us where you are getting funding and timelines to implement your project.
All right. So, Dr. Asha, what about you? Were you satisfied with the way they expended the time they had on the issues
they have to say what they have to say. But
but I think the main topic, though, is the government ditching foreign currency.
That's right. Again, our common enemy is disconnection between what is done at the governmental level and at the local level. It's easy to say you're going to award contracts and it's going to be denominated in CD. And that's the public sector. How about the private sector? So much disconnection between what goes on in government, in the formal sector, and the informal sector. As it stands, everybody knows that you cannot get dollars if you go to the bank. It's public knowledge. I don't know what anybody is doing about that. And you can only get it from the side, the roadside. Now, so you can say these things, as in the same way you can say all other things, like rent control. You can say that you can only pay 6 months in rent by law. But what's happening on the ground has to be investigated and has to be enforced. So unless you're leaving out the private sector and you're focusing just on the public sector, and a lot of government contracts are awarded to multinational companies, they come in and they're going to still ask you for dollars anyway. So one has to check to make sure that local indigenous business people are able to follow these things that we're saying at the governmental level. Otherwise, it's not. There's no point making these edicts, you know, on the budget and saying that, you know, denominated in dollars and so on, because it's just not going to filter down to the ordinary man.
Okay.
If you go to the bank now to get dollars, you're limited to $10,000, but that's if you have a visa ready to travel outside of the country. And you know for a fact that if you go over to the abochi on the side of the road, you can get the dollars, and it's not at the dollar rate of circa 10.50 or 10.30. It's going in some places you get it at $14, 14 cedis.
Really?
Well, if you're desperate, it's demand and supply, and you have to pay what you have to pay to get it. So unless
we cannot independently verify that.
Well, of course you can't independently verify anything from the abochi. You don't expect to be able to verify anything. This is an informal.
Grounds, and I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can take you to Tudu, right?
Yeah.
And you can. I mean, if you're an importer and you need $100,000, and your partners are waiting for you to send the money, you're not exactly in a position of strength to say that, look, I'm going to pay 10 CD 50 pesos for a dollar because that's what the Bank of Ghana says. You're going to have to pay what you have to pay to be able to get what you have to get to be able to do your business. So we need to, perhaps it's an issue of enforcement, where we enforce these things that are made, these laws that are passed, or these directives that are given by the government. Otherwise, it's just not going to really filter down onto the ground.
All right.
Now, another point I quickly want to make is that it's been a few months since this dollar was stabilized the way it was.
The CD, you mean?
Sorry, the CD. And there's a reason why people didn't have confidence in the CD. It was because it was unstable. And stability should not be judged in 3 months or 4 months. You need to wait to see how stable it gets first. It's all well and good, we're making progress, but you see, people are still going to have the phobia they have against the CD because of history. All right? History has to be erased with facts. So we need to bide our time and see how far it goes. And then naturally people will have confidence in it. Confidence comes naturally. You can't enforce it by directives.
Okay. I want us to move away from the budget and do some other stories. But Prof, I saw you making some notes, and I want to give you a minute to.
Yes, I just want to react to some statements that are made here. If you want dollars for legitimate business, you will get it. That's if you rightly, Dr. Asha rightly said, if you go to the banks and you have a proven case that you want to travel, you need dollars, you will get up to 10,000. If you go and you want to transact business electronically and pay for whatever you are buying abroad with dollars, Ghana has enough dollars to guarantee that transaction. We won't just give you dollars to go and keep in your house and then drive the CD up, or to take it, go sell to abochis. That is a different ball game altogether. And as far as we are concerned, I will continue to support that tightening policy, that we don't have to recklessly dissipate our reserves on people who want to store dollars in their.
What you're saying is that there's no shortage
of
dollars.
Shortage of dollars. It's just stricter measures. Anyone who wants dollars through a legitimate means for a legitimate business will get them, and no one has hidden that. I'm also surprised at Prof. Boedi's demands on the Honorable Kaslia to forcing yesterday. He is the one who just said the minister outlined a whole 8 pages of what happened in the past. And yet he's demanding that the minister provide statistics and data for why we are insolvent. I cannot imagine how difficult it is to provide all that data and not increase the number of pages that he was talking about. But insolvency, what is insolvency? If you accumulated 67 billion in arrears, if you accumulated 5.2% of our GDP over 4 years, insolvency is the fact that your debts far outweigh your assets and you are no longer actually seen to be economically viable. If you looked at our international debts alone, we're looking at over 11 billion. So all those things pointed to the fact that we are insolvent. If that cannot convince anybody, that this is insolvency. Writing 10 pages wouldn't. The IMF did it, the World Bank did it, and we have always run to them to interpret what the true state of our economy is. But if they say we are insolvent, then you think that we can't rely on that. I think that that double standard, we shouldn't allow it to stand. We can't demand that he keeps a brief budget at the same time say he should provide data for why we are insolvent when it was all out there. That is the most evident thing that you could associate with our economy coming into 2024. And I can't believe that we want the minister to spend time convincing us that we were actually insolvent.
So what he said was the indebtedness of the government had culminated into state insolvency.
Yeah.
Prof, you've just heard what Professor Ayamga has to say in response to that. 1 minute.
Well, Sidi, today we are talking about this. The debt we are talking about. When did they start? When they were leaving office, how much did they leave? That will not start today or tomorrow.
10 billion.
It's accumulation over a period of
Relatively,
time.
they left
10 billion.
a lower debt.
50 something billion.
It's accumulation over a period of time that you have this. So it's a very simple thing. Once you tell someone is an insolvent, unable to sustain and make payment, fine. But tell us. Give a cross-reference. How many minutes will it take you to just provide the data?
All right. So thank you. Let's move on to other stories. So while we sort of chastise the minority for leaving Parliament, their petition on electoral violence and illegal mining is still a very good call. And Galamsey, or illegal mining, is still an existential crisis. And I'm glad we have the Deputy CEO of Environmental Protection Authority here. I think on Monday or Tuesday, one of those days, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources took his turn at the Government Accountability Series, where he expatiated on what they're doing to curb illegal mining. It was a whole comprehensive presser. But I want to stay on illegal mining because it looks like they're doing so much. And we seem to want to say or sell the narrative that things are changing, but our water bodies are not clearing up. Not yet. I don't know about Ghana Water, whether the turbidity level they have to deal with is still the same. Last time I checked, it was around 14-something NTU. So you sit at the helm of, this is right in your purview. How would you assess the work that we are doing as a people? This is not NDC, MPP matter. This is us as a nation. Do you think we are actually, is there an end in sight?
Yes, thank you, Siti. I'm happy you rightly put it into context. And for many of us that joined this fight, the president knew very well that taking us right from academics into this, you're not going to have out-and-out politicians dealing with it. And they know definitely if the calls came to some of us that we should let people work, we wouldn't. So the president, by actually bringing on board my boss, Nana Ama Brown Kluche, Prof, good morning, wherever you are, and myself, know very well what they were getting into. Yeah. And we have been very resolute in these issues. Whether you are from the MPP or the NDC, fortunately, I don't know many of them. So it's something that I want us to move away from the politics. It is sickening and disheartening to watch images. And when I was going to the EPA, I had a discussion with my son, and he asked me where I was going. He's 8. And he told me that if I'm actually coming to help save the environment, then I can go. So as I sit here, I am indebted to my kid that if I cannot point next year to him that this is what I have done, then I have a problem. So we all understand that. But let's look at it this way. It is a cat and mouse game. You see, when you just say Galamsey, I said yesterday on this same platform that there are two sides to the story. You have legal mining going on, sometimes veering into illegal mines, illegal activities. That falls within our purview. And we are increasingly tightening the boats. Initially, we didn't want to put a task force out there because sometimes they easily go rogue. You can't go enforcing this thing without security agencies and military and police. And I'm a civilian. Sometimes they go in there and they can do things. So if you put a task force out there, you must be able to police it. So it's not an issue of task force. It's not also an issue of militarizing the whole operation. Because right now, if they go and shoot 3, 4 people here, the same minority will be on the streets that bring them to justice. So it's an issue of us reforming first our legal framework. And I keep calling that we need environmental courts. Courts that would judicially and expedite actions on people that we arrest so that you don't have to keep them for 48 hours and release them. You don't have to take them to our courts that are largely determined by some legal framework and the rights to come in and these people walk. We need judges that are more oriented towards this environmental protection. So,
what are you doing in that regard? I mean, we've had so many thousands of arrests.
Of course, when you are talking of legal framework.
Yeah, no prosecution. And I know it doesn't fall. This is for Ghana Police Service to prosecute these people who have been arrested. But how are you escalating, or how are you trying to amplify that call for these prosecutions so that it also serves as a deterrent to other people who are still entering our forest reserves and mining on our water bodies?
If you are talking of legal, then you are talking about legislation. So we are tightening our laws. As I speak, this year alone, we have just taken 5 legislations to Parliament to give us enough leverage to prosecute people that engage in various environmental violations. Once the laws are comprehensive enough, it's very difficult for somebody to escape the loop. What I also think is that communities have to be very honest with us. You see, if you go right now and take just a piece of land anywhere, the owners will show up. So it is strange that this scale of destruction goes on and the communities do nothing about it. There's always some level of complacency and collusion. The only time you see people coming to report is when a partnership goes sour and they are no longer getting their fair share of the thing. Right. Then they want to use law enforcement. There are places I've seen overnight, they just cause massive distraction. And by the time you get there, communities and villages hide these people. So it is not an issue of just law enforcement and authorities. It has to be a comprehensive thing. People must get to the point that they understand that this is just a silent killer that will destroy us in the near future, and we'll all put our hands on deck. The excessive politicization of the issue is sickening, and it doesn't allow for any serious and concerted effort towards solving this problem. This color of this water is neither the NDC color or the MPP colors. That is what we need to look at and then deal with it. Not that I have arrested an NDPP person or an NDC person and then it is a political ping pong, which I sometimes get disheartened and disillusioned about.
Thank you. So Dr. Asha and Professor Boedi, feel free to reflect on Galamsey when I get to you, but I want to get into your papers now. Let's start with the Daily Guide.
The Daily Guide...
To talk, I mean, you want to reflect... It's linked to it.
Yeah,
okay, let's get into it.
Apologies for... That's the Daily Guide. On the front page, we have a story on page 3. That's apologies for peddling cathedral lies. That's by Charles Owusu Joanna. So, minority boycott budget over Ablekuma Galamsey. So that features here. That's on page 3. Small-scale gold export double, value triples. And that's on page 6. And then we have a story on VAT reform bill to scrap COVID levy. That's by the Minister of Finance yesterday on page 6. And the public debt down by 113.7 billion. And that's by Toforsen. But let me come back to the first story here, which is minority boycott budget over Ablekuma and Galamsey. 2 issues.
For the purpose of this conversation, can we call it illegal mining instead of Galamsey?
Yeah, illegal mining. But I was happy when Prof expressed his concern. The color of that water we saw. It's not the color of NDC or MPP. And I'm happy. But at a point in time, we must all sing the same song. What is wrong is wrong. But we should remember, Prof, administration was overthrown because of Galamsey, remember? The whole UTAG body almost divided because of Galamsey fight.
Oh, okay.
So several administration, and this cannot be something you should watch, this administration, because if you don't take care, this same issue can get you out of power. Because now the city, all of us, we are aware of what is happening. And from where he sits as the pinnacle of environmental issues, you handle a lot of these issues in your office. If you want a proper statistics to show we have a problem, then you should find out in the budget. which happily the Minister of Finance did yesterday. Go and check sectorial performance. GDP will not come from the sky. No. There are other factors that will fuel the GDP. We have the agri sector, we have the service sector, we have the manufacturing sector. These three sectors or individuals, sectors or so, will fuel your GDP for you. And look at the figure he gave in the agri sector. And that's to support what we are talking about, that is a problem. Agricultural sector, fishing increased 16.4%, crops 6.7%, livestock 5.6%. It showed strong growth. Let's look at forestry and logging. Contracted significantly at negative 2.5%. So it cements what we are talking about. When you have this, it suggests declining logging activities, then the environmental issues that we are talking about. And that will tie into what I said. We shouldn't spend more time in talking about those things I said earlier on. The minister could not tell us any policy narrative to address this yesterday. Go and check the document. Once you tell us a problem and you give us the statistics to support your argument, finito. The next thing you need to give is to give us policy narrative. How are you going to do this? If we all come and sit here this morning and we lament and we talk, me, I don't have power. I don't have power. You have. We implement the law. Yes, the law will be passed. It's passed. Oh, we arrest this. We put the person in jail. Yes. What else again? We'll be talking about this every day and we'll not have a solution to the problem. So I think we need to move beyond these statements that we know it's a problem, it's a canker, it's affecting everybody. But what are we doing? If you want to inaugurate these water body players or those who were commissioned to go into the forest, where are they? Tell us the number now. How much are we paying them every month? They should show us what they have done. I don't know, 3 months ago.
You want a more quantitative assessment than the qualitative.
Just like the minister indicated. He showed us logging and forest.
And percentage. I'm not interjecting, but the Lands and Natural Resource Minister gave a comprehensive rundown of this. If you expected the Honorable Kasera to force him to take that also into a budget, then we would have still been sitting in Parliament now listening to the budget. Please. Please.
But you agree with him. He's saying that it was to review the media. It's a media budget review.
To know whether you need more money or not, you stay within your targets.
It's a media budget review.
Yeah. We are economists.
But when you're talking about review and you're doing policy adjustment, you know what they did to the expenditure and the revenue? That one you had time to talk about. But how to address this, you can't have time to talk about.
Okay, so that's your time. Dr. Asha, I want to hear your thoughts on this illegal mining money. Is this the first time I'll be hearing you say anything at all on this matter?
It's a canker.
Yeah, and I'm sure you observed from NPP's time till now, so let's hear you.
Yes, it is a shame. It is a real shame that we are that reckless as a people. And it's just not in illegal mining. It's all over the country, in all kinds of places. I mean, I've been looking at the driving. There's one headline here about accidents. We have, the last time I checked, we have 3 million cars on Ghanaian roads. And yet, and the United Kingdom has 30 million cars. And yet, pound for pound, we far exceed them in terms of the number of casualties on the road. You know, and it's the same kind of thing that's going throughout every facet of Ghanaian society. You have people that are brazen enough to come on TV or on video to say that we're not going to stop this. Come here, let's fight. There's a canker in the Ghanaian spirit that likes to talk about generalities at the macro level, but then when it comes to the micro individual disciplinary level, they don't. You know, just do anything they want. You know, they'll say, let's stop corruption. And yet, when you need a job, you go and see your uncle to say, please, can you sort of fix me somewhere? Forgetting that that's exactly what you're doing. So it's a menace, we all know this. And Prof said that it's not, well, it is an issue of enforcement, like anything else. I disagree that the task force shouldn't be sent. If we have no confidence in law enforcement, then we're doomed as a country. So we're sending people into the forests to sort these things out, and they're colluding with these people. Well, in that case, then there's nothing else we can do. And yes, of course, if you go into the mining areas and somebody's doing illegal mining and you shoot them, and as the honourable gentleman said, that there's going to be a demonstration from the minority to say there should be a probe. Of course, there should be a probe. Probes are in line with democratic values, so it's fine. It's fair enough because you don't want the security forces to run amok, because we know that they do sometimes. So it's a menace. It's something that impacts all of us, regardless of the hue of the party from which you come from, and we must all put. And I think that it must start at the micro individual level. Perhaps we should be considering introducing something in the curriculum at primary schools. Most of these things, I think, have to be started from the primary school level. In Japan, what happens in Japan is that if you're going to primary school in Japan, you take a bin with you. It's part of the things you have to take. So when you shave your pencil, you collect it and put it in your bin and take it home. By the time you're 15, it's so ingrained in your spirit that you don't need law enforcement to tell you to take your rubbish away. And in the last World Cup, the Japanese cleaned up all the stand after.
Nobody told them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got to go to the primary school level, I think, and you've got to make it part of the curriculum, or even in the secondary school level. I mean, 2 years ago, I was suggesting that we should introduce corruption as a compulsory course that has to be passed before you progress.
While I'm completely sold on this suggestion, I also think that where we are right now, the solution is not going to start in primary and.
Well, you have to start from somewhere.
So, as we speak, what do you think?
Law enforcement.
Right, law enforcement.
That's the only way.
You don't think that we are enforcing? Do you think the laws are adequate enough to?
Oh, we have more than enough laws.
So it's just about the enforcement.
Absolutely, yes,
okay.
And the honesty of the law enforcement machine.
Okay, all right. So let's get into your paper. Which one do you have?
I have the Daily Gist, and it outlines that the government dodges COVID-19 levy, amongst other things. And then there's also the Galamsey issue that apparently has taken over the president's hometown. So that's coming close to the president himself. There's also the Ablekuma North NDC goons are smoked out. This has particular interest to me. Because it's a bane on our politics. I must be fair. 8 years ago, we saw this on TV. Mr. Sam George was brutally assaulted. And I saw on TV, and I was disgusted that could happen to a sitting member of parliament. Unfortunately, the chickens have come home to roost, which is a shame, again. But it tells you the cycle that the body politique is experiencing because of the way we do things. So and I've heard people justify it. I'm not justifying it because it happened to Sam George. It's justified that it has happened here. But the point is that it has to stop somewhere.
What do you think it takes? Electoral violence?
Well, it takes civilization.
It looks like that's how we know to do elections.
You have to be civilized enough not to resort to physical violence every time you have a disagreement with somebody.
I think people change when they either hear enough that they want to change, they experience something tragic that they want to change, or they are forced, something really drastic happens that they have to change. In this case, when we're talking about electoral violence, Ghana, what do you think? Because I think we've heard enough. If we really wanted to change, we would. If people wanted to stop the thuggery and bring in pugilists to intimidate people during election time, I think if we'd heard enough and wanted to change, we would. But as we sit here, how do we ensure that, you are a political analyst, so tell us, how do we ensure that the next by-election in Akutia, staring us in the face, does not result in another, fisticuffs and exchange of blows here and there?
Well, the leaders have to speak to their followers. They have to be unequivocal.
Will they listen? What more are they going to say?
Well, they have to. So we're looking at this moment, it says that these people have been smoked out, okay? So that's enforcement to say, and I think, to be honest, if I was the president, I would have come out to say, condemn it completely. There's a very loud silence from that part of the government on this. I don't know why, but because we know history has repeated itself. And if it's not smoked out, it's going to repeat itself. So we have to ensure that the consequences of violence far outweighs the benefits.
Okay, thank you. Ohayamga,
yes,
I want to run the election violence situation by you and what you make of it. This is not the first time this issue has come up, but I also know that some people have been arrested. As of yesterday or so, I read somewhere that some people have been picked up and they will be facing justice. What do you think? Where do we begin to unravel this deep-seated violence in us when it comes to election? Because I think it's just as a people now we expect it.
Sweetie, the issue is, let me say, a convoluted one, that most of the time we allow this thing to go on because maybe one political party is a beneficiary at a point in time and the other one is at the receiving end. And that is why that vicious cycle keeps going. And what you just said is the solution to it. That some people must account for their actions on election day, regardless of the party they belong to. That is how we bring an end to this. I, sitting here, see a lot of hypocrisy because one of my players from Yankwala Shooting Stars, who got shot on election day and lost his life, I have not seen anybody. And I sit here emotional and I feel painful about it because the young man was in my office not long ago to just get balls for his club. And the next time I learned, he was shot down and the same minority didn't see the need to even call for any action. Somebody got head battered and you think that I should sit here and say I regret that Hawa Kumsun went into a polling station in an election that they said they were not taking part. What do you want there then? So I agree that we have to deal with the situation. Anyone that goes into a polling station to cause violence must be dealt with. And that is the step in the right direction. But I'm saying that this is just some violence, some fisticuffs. We are talking about people who have lost their lives. And in 8 years, some people sat in government for people to lose their lives, and they did nothing. They stayed in parliament, had the joy of going to bring sick people to pass e-levy and then do party over it. Once people had died and you never left parliament, somebody go head battered. I'm a realist. I don't cry over this. That you now think that you don't deserve to, you won't sit in the budget because somebody who has also been maybe a principal actor in electoral violence got karma coming at her, and you think that we should worry? Yes, I worry about the violence. I worry about the violence, but not the Ablokumanov. Let's separate the issues here. People have lost their lives, and who has talked about them since this government started? I mean, did the Honorable Afenyo Markin and his team in Parliament forgot that people lost their lives?
But Prof, does it help that President Mahama is strangely silent about this?
President Mahama is not silent. The arrest, if President Mahama was silent, there won't be any arrest. I wish we could see this happening in the past. If there were arrests and people had to account for it, somebody will know that even though your government is in power, if you go and commit electoral violence, the law enforcement will come knocking at your door,
now,
and you have
play
questions.
The devil's advocate
Yes,
here.
yeah, play.
When things happen in this country, President Mahama has a nice way of injecting some humor into it. When there was that dollar situation between Sami Jemfi and Mama Pat, President Mahama found a way to speak about it. There are so many things that you'd expect that you thought that a president had was, not really come to his attention. You find a way to say something about it. For us to go and rerun elections in 19 polling stations and result in this, despicable, display of violence that we saw, I think that the president ought to have said something by now.
Yeah, that's actually a devil's advocate because
but I mean, you get the import of
the
what I'm trying to
president's
say.
silence speaks a lot.
This is more than
the
dollars.
president's silence speaks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to keep quiet and allow people to face the music. Yeah, the president could have come to say, okay, we'll investigate it and then the culprits will be brought to book and nothing happened. Is that what you want to see, or you want to see the arrest that you are talking about here? I prefer the latter. The president can keep quiet as long as he wants. If people keep getting arrested and they face accountability, they have to face the law for their actions. I don't mind the president not speaking. We had a president that spoke always and nothing was happening in this country. So I want a president that works, not a president that speaks. So if it is the president you want to speak, it's in Jubilee House. You're a journalist. You can go there and...
Ozawedi, I know you want to respond to that.
I know where you sit. It's very difficult to sit there and ask all of us questions.
It's okay.
But the point is that I will not blame Honorable. I will not blame NDC. I will not blame anybody. I will blame those people who have allowed themselves to be used for such activities. Okay. I will blame those people. How many of those kids happen to come from Honorable's family? The president family. I blame those people. If, Prof, you have a son, a daughter, and is involved in such a thing, what would you say? Today is fine. Let's happen to one of your family members. Then you understand what we are talking about. A group of people unmasked tell the whole world, sit in a truck. I did this to this person. I went and beat her. I did that. How many days now? We took in all social media. We can see the pictures of those people. They are quiet. On our budget. The next day, it will be the former minister's son or daughter. It will be the president. And Honorable family, I mean, it can happen. Who knows? So when they are coming for those people, they should question them. Why not bring your child to be part of these brutalities? They should ask them.
You know, the answer lies in something you said earlier, that our common enemy is poverty. So these people are offered peanuts to risk their lives for political gains. And you are not the one who even stands to benefit, you see. It's the mindset, unfortunately.
Well, something must be done. But if these people are not caught, and the people in Ablekuma, other places, are not protected, then where are we?
Okay.
My issue was on the COVID, the
COVID-19 levy, yeah.
Look.
That's from the Daily Gist, I guess.
That's
yeah,
right,
okay.
yes it is.
We have scrapped some taxes, this administration, when they took over.
Yeah.
Some taxes. They have introduced almost about 4 in addition or so. They've introduced the increase rate for 15% increase in non-life insurance. We have electricity, which a quarterly we get. And then we have something on D-levy. So when you take some and you bring additional ones.
You talk of the net.
Talk of the net. We can get the net for you very soon. Down 0.
No, it's not 0.
So what is happening? What is happening? That was what you were what is happening to COVID-19 levy? You said it in your manifesto. You scrap it, nuisance. And check the percentage of that amount. The percentage of COVID levy. That one, you've left it. And I was thinking that this was going to be captured in the budget, the review, silently. We'll do something. What update they give?
Okay, so my time is almost out, but Prof, you said it's not 0, so what is it?
It's not 0. you are talking about a fuel levy, and you need to look at the dynamics here. You took a gallon or a liter of petrol from 17 down to 11, 12, and we say because we owe so much, let's take 1 cedi back so that we can pay down our debt. I believe that if you look at what happened in Ghana in the past, there were 3 things: reckless borrowing, the energy sector debt, and the banking sector cleanup to the tune of 2 billion. These were the 3 demons that plagued Ghana. And any government that runs away from the energy sector crisis, it doesn't matter what you do, it will come back to erode everything. And that is why you are trying to whip up sentiments against this levy, and you are not getting it on the streets, because many Ghanaians are seeing that giving us even 6 cedis and taking back 1 cedi just to pay our debts is not a bad thing. That is just in the energy sector. So let's look at it this way. I want to hear discourses that surrounds how do we use that 1 cedi? How can we track the extent to which that levy we are paying is contributing to a reduction in the energy sector debt, and how we are managing that debt? That is the discourse I want to engage in. But if you look at the taxes that we have taken away and the ones we have introduced, you can't directly say that Ghanaians are worse off. Plus, there is increasing improvement in our purchasing power occasioned by the declining strength of the dollar.
Check the food inflation.
Food inflation, of course. Inflation, if you want to talk of inflation in general, inflation dropped from 23.4 or 7% to 13.7. You can't tell me that that hasn't eased the burden on people. And I'm saying that there's some purchasing power in the economy. What we need to do is to re-engineer the system so that that purchasing power inures to the benefit of the locally owned productive sectors like Dr. Asha was mentioning, so that we don't go back to square one. But I don't want us to try to whip up sentiments around taxes and other things, when indeed the tax burden of the Ghanaian businessman and the Ghanaian public servant and the Ghanaian worker in general is much, much better now than it was in the last 6-7 years. That is something we cannot run away from.
But Prof, can I just quickly ask on the back of that? What was the motivation for scrapping the e-levy, for example, and then introducing the energy levy? I mean, it goes in the same pot.
No, you see,
it's still government coffers. So I'm just trying to understand that it's not just about the aesthetics of it, that I said I was going to scrap something, so I've scrapped it. The point is that you need money as a government to operate. So if there's an existing tax regime that brings in that money, and you scrap it, and then you bring in another one, which has...
Before the optics?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder.
As I rightly indicated, and I'm saying rightly, just praising myself, before you impose taxes, you look at the effect of the taxes and the general conditions of living, whether first people can be able to shoulder those taxes. First, the cost of living occasioned by high transportation costs, rising dollar and other things had improved. So the environment was more conducive at least to even increase taxes. But this is not a tax we increase, we just put a levy of 1 cedi. It's a flat rate. And what we are saying is that the e-levy was hitting hard on vulnerable segments of society. Old ladies who were receiving and sending something as much as...
Anything below 100 cedis was exempted.
If you buy food, it translates across.
No, you see, the effects are...
It filters down, I think.
The same. The effects are not the same. And what we are saying is, no, it's not the same. We are looking at people who could not take more than 100 cedis and they get taxed. And that one was actually a rate.
No, anything below 100 cedis was tax-free, was exempted.
It's not the same as a 1%. And that is what is being peddled out there.
Oh, no, but don't say it's just a cedi.
It's a cedi.
All right.
It is a cedi
per liter. As the, if the,
That is why
cost
the
of
food
fuel
inflation is
Professors,
going up.
that's all that time will allow us.
That's why the food inflation is going
Unfortunately,
up.
we can't get into the overseer, but all the stories there we've already discussed, right? Like we saved. Please just give me the stories on the head.
No, yeah, they are basically on the economy.
Okay.
We have saved 4.9 billion on interest payments, which is something that Prof didn't talk about. BOSS signs MOU to strengthen Ghana's downstream sector. Of course, Sami Jemfi suing Fia Schwarzenegger. And my body, good morning, Honorable Minister John Jinapo, wherever you are, saying that there's no aviation fuel shortage in Ghana. Yes, those are largely at the front page. But what I want to take home is in the middle. In the middle.
So we have to go. If it's just a headline,
it's just a headline. Yeah, the big push agenda, over 32 programs that are being brought back. I felt this is something that we need to praise the government and thank them for.
So that there is Professor Michael Ayamga. He's Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority and also an applied economist. We also had Professor Isaac Boidi. He's Dean at Faculty of Accounting and Finance, UPSA, and Dr. Benny Asha, political analyst and also a lecturer at UPSA. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having breakfast with me. All right, so stay with me. We'll take a break. But before I go, you want to make your dream home a reality with EcoBank. I'm inviting you to step into your ideal home or transform your current space into one that truly reflects your style and comfort, all with the support from EcoBank. EcoBank has once again partnered with Joy News to bring you an exciting experience at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. This year's edition makes your journey to a comfortable, modern home even more accessible and affordable. With EcoBank's Buy Now, Pay Later, you can easily renovate, upgrade, or furnish your home to suit your taste and lifestyle. Whether it's elegant home decor, modern furniture, essential electronics like laptops or phones, or even solar energy solutions, EcoBank has the right financing tailored to your lifestyle. From staying connected with the latest devices to embracing sustainable living, our flexible consumer loans, asset finance, and salary advance products are all designed to help you bring your vision to life. Enjoy competitive interest rates, convenient repayment terms, and fast approvals from a bank that really understands your needs. Visit our stand and take the first step towards the home and lifestyle you deserve. Comfortable home starts with EcoBank. Be a part of it. EcoBank, the Pan-African bank. Stay with me. I'll be back with the big stories.
All right, welcome back to the AM show. Time for us to go into what, the budget that was presented represents for all of us as Ghanaians. Let's go into that. And joining me in studio is our research and data analyst here. I join you, Isaac Kofi Ejay. He's already been here. We will also be speaking to other people who are joining us via Zoom, people who really understand what the issues are with the economy. Kofi, I mean, yesterday we were here in the morning discussing what we expected the finance minister will touch on. Did those come to pass? What more is contained in this budget?
In fact, I would say that about 90% of the things we said the finance minister was going to touch on, indeed, he touched on them. So he gave us a clear indication of when he thinks the COVID-19 levy will go. We'll talk more on that. He spoke about the return to the debt market or the bonds market. He spoke about that, told the success story of the economy, and he actually did that. And in fact, he also made mention or spoke about the wage bill, which was so important going into this year's budget. And in fact, on PM Express, gave further and better details on stored projects, the Big Push initiative, roles that will benefit from the current allocation and what have you. But what we learned yesterday from that mid-year budget review was that he was very clear that he doesn't need additional funding. So he's not going to request for supplementary budget for 2025. It simply means that he's going to stay within the 291 billion Ghana cedis appropriation that was, sent to Parliament in March. But one thing we are also learning from the data we've seen so far and what he said yesterday is that revenue has been revised upward to 229 billion Ghana cedis from the 227 billion earlier projected in the main budget. What does it do? This will reduce the deficit that in the appropriation hit more than 66 billion Ghana cedis. So what this is going to do is that the new revenue handles will possibly close the gap. And then also he talked about, other things that, we have to focus on. But in terms of the stored projects, we will do more analysis on that. Okay. But the additional revenue, which is about 2.9 billion, is what yesterday was very important to put across. So, because once you decide to keep your expenditure the same and increase revenue, what happens is that your budget deficit is going to go, down. And we need to go through the deficits. Currently, he is quoting at 40.5 billion Ghana cedis. But if you go into the appropriation proper and you do the analysis, you will see that the real deficit is more than this figure. It's about 60 billion Ghana, more than 60 billion Ghana cedis if you do the real calculation, because appropriation in terms of expenditure is about 291 billion versus currently 229 billion in revenue. Definitely your deficit will exceed 60 billion. But he said,
so if it is 60 billion,
yeah,
why are they telling us it's 40 billion? Could there be an explanation?
Well, it's not wrong. It depends on the accounting tangent that you choose to stand on. Okay. Right? If you decide to take away arrears clearance and amortization, definitely the deficit will come down.
But are these expenditures? Or
yeah, actually expenditure, and they form part of the real appropriation. So, yeah. Seth Tekpe will tell you that if you really want to understand the budget, go to the appropriation, and not the one without amortization and expenditure. Because we have done that analysis and we've realized that if you do the real appropriation, deficit is more than this 40.5 billion. It's in excess of 60 billion Ghana cedis. Because the first one that he presented to Parliament in March, we did a calculation and we got a deficit of close to 66 billion Ghana cedis. Okay. And so if you add 2.9 billion revenue to it, that will reduce the deficit to some, let's say, 63 billion Ghana cedis. That's about $6.3 billion that we are talking about in deficit.
But mustn't we be worried if we are now being told it is 60 when it is actually 60? Over 60.
That's what I'm saying. That he's not wrong to quote 40.5 because he is not looking at the deficits, including amortization and arrears clearance, because he's already made a point that if you look at the amortization aspect or the arrears clearance aspect, there are contracts or arrears that they have to pay that he thinks that auditing must be done. Okay. And already he has earmarked 13 billion Ghana cedis to pay arrears this year. But his concern is that if he looks at the data, the outstanding arrears that we have to clear was close to 68 billion Ghana cedis, and some form of auditing must be done before he commits money into paying. But all we are saying is that if you add what exists in the appropriation, we could have a budget deficit which is close to 63 billion Ghana cedis that will possibly be paid in 2025. But he said this. He says, prudent debt management exchange rate appreciation has resulted in significant improvement in Ghana's debt profile. And Kojo, you remember, we did the projection somewhere March, before the budget was read, I think somewhere April, that looking at how the cedi was appreciating, we were expecting that by the first half of the year, Ghana's debt stock should go down by some 100 billion Ghana cedis. Yesterday, he actually affirmed that projection we did, and he said it went down by 113.7 billion Ghana cedis. That is very significant. In fact, if you do the math, what you see is that this is even bigger than the breathing space we got by doing the debt exchange program. So we gave people haircuts and what have you, but the savings we had was nowhere close to 114 billion Ghana cedis. It tells you that the entire economy revolves around exchange rate. Once you keep exchange rate in check, the energy sector will be stable, your debt situation will improve and all of that. So if you are able to solve the exchange rate situation, definitely what happens is that it will affect all other indicators, especially inflation, because of the pass-through effects of exchange rate and the fact that we depend so much on imports. And our import bill is on average about 13 to 14 billion dollars every year. So if you're able to tackle exchange rate, definitely all other economic indicators will follow. It's not as simple as that, but in fact, that is what the regression actually says. Yesterday, he also says that the public debt to GDP ratio at the end of June 2025 was 43.8%. This is unprecedented. Looking at where we've come so far, the restructuring we've done, at a point, our debt to GDP ratio, if you consider all other factors, was in excess of 100% to our GDP. In fact, it means that in terms of our production as a country, if we decide to use everything to pay debt 2 or 3 years ago, it would not have been possible because it was somewhere around 114%. But after the restructuring, we hit some 61.8%. That was a massive improvement. But now we are talking about 43.8%, not because of restructuring, not because we are not borrowing, but it's simply because the exchange rate situation has improved.
But are we borrowing?
Yeah, we are borrowing, but he said that we are borrowing, I want to use the word wisely, or we are borrowing as and when we need that money. But if you domestically, but we all know what happened, 3 or 4 years ago, where Eurobonds were the order of the day, get 3 billion, we're issuing 0% coupon rate and all of that. What happens is that once you begin to add dollar debt and your exchange rate begins to fail you, without even adding more debt, without even borrowing, you add more debt, because the finance minister in the 2023 budget had told us that in 2022, they added more than 90 billion Ghana cedis to the debt stock, not because they borrowed, but because the exchange rate failed them. So it's not surprising to see the same sort of, story playing out here, but this time around, it's appreciation of the cedi. And what is that saving us? 113 billion Ghana cedis in reducing our debt stock. Now, you can look at the curve this way. This is where the success story, the entire success story is coming from. And he has said that gold board is big in this success story, but not the sole reason why we are seeing it. But he says currently we are getting more inflows from the gold board initiative, which means that Bank of Ghana now has the power to come into the market to intervene. Yesterday, when Evans asked him about intervention, he said, there's nothing wrong. If Bank of Ghana has what it takes and it's not burning reserve to keep the exchange rate afloat, there's nothing wrong with it. The governor himself, a week ago, has also said that, well, where is the sin? If the IMF wants us to add $400 million to our debt, our reserve, and we have managed to add more than $2 billion, why can't we intervene in the market when people need the forex? And so currently what is happening is that the Bank of Ghana has both the rates and the dollar. So they are able to control what happens in the black market. Because once Bank of Ghana has the supply, it actually helps in stabilizing the cedi. Yesterday, he gave a clear plan on what they will do to keep the cedi afloat for the remaining part of the year, the second half of the year. And he said he is very confident that the appreciation we have seen will be sustained. And these are the numbers, not just against the dollar, but against other other major trading currencies, the pound, the euro, all of them appreciating so much in the first half of the year. One success story that yesterday he was very particular about is inflation. But many have said that, well, we are not happy yet. Why? Because inflation is 13.7%, but your policy rate is still 28%. The business community are calling that cut rate. And yesterday we saw Trump and Jerome Powell in that famous video where he said, I want you to cut rates. Why? Because Trump understands the importance of cutting rates. And businesses are also aware that once you cut the monetary policy rate, that is when the current, joy we are seeing, the inflation, going towards, will make sense because cost of borrowing will go down. And once you begin to make the VAT more attractive and less burdensome, and you reduce the cost of borrowing, private sector can now lead the 24-hour economy. But we can't celebrate yet.
Sorry, but is it not the fear of the people who manage this to say, when you lower the rate, it could then affect even the inflation you are trying to reduce, and that's why we say let's target it or maintain it at a certain point. So if they reduce the rate, won't it affect the inflation?
But inflation doesn't just work alone. It has to work with the policy rate. And usually they move in a tangent form, like they are more tangential, if not asymptotic. But what we have seen is the wide, it's not about just reducing, but is a gap between the inflation rate and the policy rate, where you have policy rates around 28%, and inflation rate around 13.7. It shows some of the imbalances and the structural challenges the Ghanaian economy still has. It means that once you begin to even lower monetary policy rates, you may have all other, indicators distorting because of that cascading effect that could bring. But once you are able to build a very good foundation and the fundamentals are very good, you can decide to then close the gap between monetary policy rates and inflation and lower the cost of borrowing for private persons to enjoy capital.
Okay.
Fuel prices was one of the success stories, but there's more.
Here for me. Let me bring in Mary Kwateng Dako, who is Associate Director Tax Services at PwC. Mary, grateful for you to join us here. Now, from where we are, the call is that, inflation is doing well. Reduce the rate so that private sector can then, join in making the 24-hour economic policy a reality. Where do you stand on that debate, that we reduce or we try to maintain how the inflation is performing?
I would say that when we talk about inflation, we are talking about the prices of goods on the market, right? And interest rate is also the rate at which we are borrowing from the central bank.
Yeah.
You would expect that these rates would at least move in the same direction at some point. Because if they are too wide apart, it means that the inflation in the economy, the businesses will actually not be benefiting from the trend of prices falling. It means that they will still be borrowing at a very high rate. If they borrow at a high rate, what it also means is that they are going to pass on that cost on their goods, their services, or whatever they are supplying. And eventually, we, the household, we, the individuals, we are the ones who are going to bear the brunt of those high prices. And eventually, if you don't take care, if you don't manage these two very well, it means that it's going to eventually also come and affect inflation. Because you are borrowing at a high rate, you can't absorb the cost. You have to pass it on to consumers.
Okay.
As you pass it on to consumers, then that also in turn affects inflation.
Yeah.
Then inflation also begins to, go high. So I'll say it's a delicate balance that the Bank of Ghana would need to maintain. If not done properly, even the gains that we are seeing with inflation going down and even the targeted inflation at the end of the year of 11.9% will not be achievable.
I'm told the IMF is quoting 8% at end of year.
Yesterday was confident that by the end of the year, we could hit.
Okay.
On PM Express, he said that yesterday.
So that will be interesting to see. But it means that the Bank of Ghana has that responsibility to ensure, you're giving respect to industries, but you're also not pushing inflation out of the way, which will then, bring us back to where we don't want to be. Interesting. But aside this, what was your takeaway from the budget yesterday?
So my takeaway from the budget yesterday was that no new taxes were imposed on Ghanaians. I think Ghanaians have had to do with so many taxes, and so everybody was a bit cautious and worried that we're going to see new taxes being imposed. The good thing was that there were no new taxes or no new tax handles imposed. It's rather VAT that we were really hoping that there will be a firm conclusion or a firm direction with the reform, because in the 2025 budget that was read in March, the minister mentioned that they have to undertake a reform to make sure that the whole VAT system is restructured, because indeed our VAT system is very complex.
we can't even tell whether it's a sales tax regime or it's a VAT regime or it's a hybrid. Like it's very complex.
Okay. Actually hybrid.
And even it's hybrid. And even the way that it is calculated is also very complex. It's cumbersome. Even for tax consultants, it's difficult for them to apply it. How much more the ordinary person on the street?
That's the thing.
It is difficult, to be honest. So we were really hoping that there will be a bill that would reform it. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So we understand that after the consultation and then the reform, now they are at the stage of doing sensitization and also getting feedback from businesses. So we're really hoping that that can be done quickly. And as promised, in October, we are going to see the bill. And then I guess it would have to be pushed to January 2026 for the implementation of the reform. But that is what I was really hoping for, that we are going to see something along those lines. But unfortunately, it did not happen. But the other good side of it is that there were no new taxes imposed on the Ghanaians and even the business, because businesses have had to deal with so many taxes in the past. And some businesses have struggled. Some have even left the country on account of, the tough economic environment that they were operating under.
Interesting. So when it comes to the VAT that you are looking forward to, what do you expect it must be? Yesterday I was talking to Guta, and he was talking about the flat rate, and giving them, for example, that as traders, they will know that at the end of it, this is how much we are paying. What do you expect that particular, reconstruction or the new thing, reform about VAT should be?
Okay. So first of all, currently, the way our VAT system works is that, so for instance, if you have an item with a cost of 100, you need to apply the VAT. What happens is that you need to, first of all, apply the levies, which is in all 6%. So we have the National Health Insurance levy of 2.5%. We have the Ghana Education Trust Fund levy of another 2.5%. Yes. Then we have the COVID-19 levy of 1%.
1%, yes.
This would apply on the base of 100. And then on top of that, you apply the VAT of 15%.
15%.
So tax on tax.
Tax on tax, exactly. So if you look at it, by the time you finish calculating the price, the VAT rate is 21.9%, which is very high. Yeah. And it also has an inflationary impact, because it's cascades. And that 6% is not even deductible for businesses. What happens? It means that they will also pass on that cost to you and I as consumers. So that alone is high. So what I'm expecting to see by way of reform, which the minister also mentioned, is that the way the VAT works is going to change, such that we will not be calculating tax on tax. It's going to be simplified. Okay. We are going to have a unified VAT rate, which will apply on the items that are being, sold. Okay. And that will make it simpler.
But the unified should also not be too much, right?
Yeah.
So no, the unified would also mean, once you change even the way the levies are calculated in itself, the effective VAT rates will fall down.
So about
that
20%,
alone,
that's
exactly.
Yeah,
that alone.
That's what you guys did, right?
Yes.
But like I say, from 21.9 to 20%.
If you
that is one. Remember that they are also proposing to abolish the COVID-19 levy.
Yes.
Yes.
So from 21.9%, you take out that 1% also, it comes to 20%. It's still high. It is still high, even when we compare ourselves to, our neighbors around. So that is something that I'm hoping that there would also be some reduction in the rates.
So can they charge single-digit VAT
single-digit, forget.
The true
that one is not going to be possible.
The true VAT is 15%.
Okay.
Yep.
It is the NHIL, the COVID-19 levy, and the remaining one is gov't fund. Is what makes it at 21.9%. So you will come back to more analysis.
Okay, all right. Let me bring in Dr. Kawo. Seram Kawo is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, University of Cape Coast, really. I wanted to give him the University of Ghana. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, we're having a discussion about the VAT regime, for example. She has told me what her expectations are in terms of the reform that is coming. What is your own expectation in terms of the reform that we do expect from government in terms of the VAT regime?
I expect that the VAT will be reformed in such a way that it will be affordable. If the rates are affordable, we're not going to see a lot of businesses trying to avoid the payment of the tax. As has been explained by my colleagues in the studio, the VAT rate is very high, and we are taxing the tax that we pay. And so hearing the minister telling us that he is going to abolish the COVID levy, and then the amount of tax that we're going to pay will be harmonized, is a welcoming news. And we also hope that the rates that will be paid by the businesses will go down. And when we are able to reduce the rate, we encourage compliance. Once there is compliance, everything will be fine. I also would want to see not only the rate, which is financially related, but the attitude of those who collect the tax.
Okay.
Because there are instances where businesses will not want to pay the tax. So you have the Ghana Revenue Authority sending people to go and sit in the offices of these businesses and ensure that the taxes are paid. These individuals will also connive with the businesses and then avoid the payment of the VAT. So the attitudinal change is also very important.
Okay, that's Doctor. But aside that, what's your main takeaways from the budget of yesterday?
Yeah, one of my main takeaway from the budget is the NIB recapitalization.
Okay.
We have been told that the NIB had capital adequacy ratio of negative 53%, and that is very bad. And so the transfers that have been done from Nestle, the 400 and something million that have been pushed, cash that has been pushed into it, and the minister telling us that they are hoping to list NIB on the Ghana Stock Exchange is a big boost for the financial sector. Jobs have been saved in that particular regard. Secondly, that all contracts in Ghana are going to be denominated in the Ghana city. Businesses and individuals are not going to price in the dollar. And so that should go around in terms of real estate sales, a hotel, accommodation, and any type of business that we have. We need to get the law enforcement agencies to make sure that this thing comes to reality.
But on that, he said the government contract will be denominated in cedis. Does that mean that if I have my private estate or I have my hotel, I am bound by that to say I'm charging in cedis?
Yes, you are bound by that particular one, that if you have your real estate, charge in Ghana cedis. If you have hotel, charge in Ghana cedis. So your rates are not going to be quoted in dollars, and then at any point in time that the rate change, you also change. And looking at where we are going currently, that will be very good for the businesses, because if the exchange rate continues to stabilize and you appreciate, the cedi continues to appreciate, and you continue to charge in dollars, you are the one who are going to lose. Businesses try to be much faster. They want to be smart and outsmart the system. At a point in time in 2025, those who are dealing in cars that price the cars in dollars, they've refused to price the cars in dollars. They are pricing in Ghana cedis. So there is the need for us to enforce this particular regime. I can set an example of South Africa. You go to South Africa and you cannot buy anything in any other currency apart from the South African rand. So we can also do the same thing in Ghana. And once we do it, the system goes up. So there is the need for us to ensure that we go with these policy initiatives and make sure that the law bites, the enforcement agencies do their work well. Those are my two big takeaways from the review that we had yesterday.
But Doc, on the side of the dollar, quoting items in cedis, aren't we going to also hurt ourselves? Because once you force people to quote in cedis, even though they want to quote in dollars, people will come up with their own rates. Because if you are forcing me to quote my goods in cedis, I can still use a dollar rate of 14 and price. So if you are really stabilizing the CD, why care about what people are doing? They can go ahead and quote in dollars since you have a very stable currency.
Yeah, you are very right in that respect. But then when you look at the Forex market, it's very fluid. We can only sustain our Forex gains that we are making now by being disciplined. Fiscal and monetary policy, the marriage between the two are working effectively. And we also trying to ensure that the inflation rate is kept to a minimum level. When those things work well and the system is working and individuals will not price items on the market anyhow, that will be very good for us. But we stay in an economy where the informal sector is much dominant than the formal sector. And that is where we have a bit of a challenge. So you can make sure that your exchange rate, the inflation rate, the policy rate, and all those things are minimal. But we'll still have individuals that will price at their own level. And we cannot allow that to continue. When you use other currencies, you are giving value to the currency that you are using, and we cannot continue in that particular regard. That is why countries that have stable currencies over time will make sure that everything is done in their own currency. Even our neighboring country, Togo, you cannot go and pay any other thing in this apart from the CFA franc. That is what they do, and their currency has been stable for a longer period of time. So once other countries are doing it, patriotism is needed to make sure that we do what we want to do. In terms of the people trying to quote their own rate and all those things, the market forces will play against you. Because when the prices are up and then your competitor is quoting the price that is much lower, businesses will move to that. And we have a lot of competition in market space, so that can also...
So you made a very important point that when the city started appreciating, nobody forced businesses to start quoting their wares in cities. So if you are talking about market forces, why not allow those same market forces to determine where people want to go, but to compel people to say that quote in cities when they really want to quote in dollars to make sure that they have value for money. If they decide to quote in dollars and the city begins to stabilize, it's their own law, so why force them?
You see, we have the forces of the market trying to determine the prices of goods and services in the market. But there are certain goods that are very precious. And so in terms of real estate, hotel accommodation, buying of luxury vehicles or any car that you are going to get, these are not things that are very common that we can all get. And they are not very open to every kind of income holder. And so government intervention in these areas in terms of policy is very important to ensure that there is a fair playing ground for everybody. If you allow that to happen, the one who is selling provisions in the stores, the businesses that are trying to manufacture, if they all decide that this is what they are going to do, there will be indiscipline in the market, and that is not going to be good. Government needs to discipline the market and so that everybody will fall in line. That is why we have enacted the laws of the country, and we just have to make sure that we follow these laws that we have. That is it. And you'll notice that sometimes the rates are quoted for even some government contracts, and then they decide to quote a particular rate, not the current rate that is happening. So if we go by that particular policy that quote in Ghana cedis, and if there is the need for you to review, you review and inform your consumers about the changes that you have made. Okay. Everything will be fine.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Thanks to you. But let's come into the studio and bringing our lady here, who's also, been talking to us about her take on the other things. But Mary, in terms of the dollar and the decision to say price in Ghana, I didn't understand it to mean even, I don't want to mention any hotels name, but hotels now are compelled to then charge in Ghana cedis. As Kofi was asking, should we just allow the market forces to work, or we should compel people to say compulsorily price in Ghana cedis?
I believe those two are, connected largely. But I also believe that if we are able to sustain the gains that we have seen in the appreciation of the cedi, people will not need to find other currencies as a store of value. Yeah. Because that's what people are doing. Some actually get their salaries, convert it to dollars. That was previously. And then just save it. And that alone will give you some appreciation.
Okay.
But now that the cedi is, gaining and it is strong, you will not need to, invest. Yeah, you will not need to, put your value in dollars or in another currency. The cedi itself is strong enough. Now, what we are hoping and praying for is that these gains will be sustained. We've seen 6 months of, it's been, it's appreciating.
Hopefully, Kofi, give us the graph again so we can really follow.
If y'all can bring back, yes.
So that's it, right? So in January, it was 14.7. Yep. It jumped to 15.38 in February, 15.54 in March. It came to 15.35 in April, May. Yeah. May was 13.45. July, it is 10.5. But there's a bit of an appreciation there, right? But it's a slight. Yep. Yeah, so, and now they say it is because of gold board. So as long as gold board exists, it means that we'll see a downward trend.
Hopefully.
You also would be counting on gold prices on the international space to still make the gold board work, right? Because
exactly.
you are targeting $1 billion every month to stabilize the cedi. So your hope is that gold prices will still be on the high, still be maybe between $2,800 and $3,000, with the hope that if you are able to stay within this range, you get more from gold board, then to give to the Bank of Ghana to do some of the intervention and also to meet the demand situation. And the hope is that once that is done and you are able to get $1 billion every month, you should be fine, right?
Okay, but let's look at the big push. I mean, roads, important. We all need good roads. I've always said that if Ghanaians are driving on good roads, we will pay any amount of toll. I don't know.
Thank you.
As for me, I'll pay.
Agreed.
I'll pay. Because if my car I'm driving on good road, we're not going to the shop anytime, and you say, okay, Saloon car, pay this amount, I will.
Yeah.
So hearing that the big push for the next 2 years is dedicated to constructing roads, it's good. What will be the impact of that on, say, inflation? I've heard people say that when people have spending power, it pushes inflation. I don't know how the economists do it, but do we see the big push agenda pushing inflation anywhere? What will be the impact of the big push on the economy, the larger economy itself? Okay,
so on the roads, I believe that there's still a lot that we need to do. Especially even if you go to Tema, the industrial area, which is where a lot of our production, I would say, comes from. Okay. The roads are not in good shape, and there is a lot that needs to be done there. The roads leading to our houses, there's a lot that needs to be done there. But I guess we can...
And sorry, I don't cut you, but if you go to farming communities, this year I'm told that Agri posted 6.6% in the first half of the year. Yes, which means that, and according to the finance minister, it is the leading contributor to our GDP, the first half of the year.
Before you even come back, could you imagine you have a dual road from here to Takoradi? I'm sure some people will stay in Takoradi and come to work.
Exactly.
So the farming communities are critical in this. And I've heard that 1/6 constituencies that are in dire need of roads are being captured under the big push.
Sampled by the roads minister in his store. Those constituencies.
It means that food can come to the market easily. So in all of that, would then have impact on inflation, right? Because if we get food easily accessible to the market, food inflation will not rise that much. Because the cost of transportation will come down. So now take your analysis.
So the road construction, the road network is very, very important, and it also plays a key role in inflation. So imagine that whatever produce the farmers harvest. Imagine it seamlessly getting to Accra for you and I to purchase. And you know that there is also a significant difference between buying something at the farm gate versus buying it at the market.
Yes.
The significant contributor is basically transportation. And if the roads are bad, it makes it even more expensive to get these items to Accra. That is if they are even able to get to Accra. Most of them get rotten at the farms.
Oh, yes, yes.
That means that only a few get to Accra. And the few get to Accra, because a lot of people are also chasing its demand and supply rules, it means that the prices of that would also go up. So we need these road networks to be done to be able to bring the produce or the items to where they are needed. And if they get there also on time and people get what they need, inflation will be controlled and it would also reduce. So I think it's a big thing that needs to happen.
So big push can bring down the inflation.
Exactly.
Such that when my Hunter West constituency has all of our roads done, we can move fish from Cape 3 Point, from Akweda, from Disco to Agona Nkwanta, and we'll buy fish cheaper than we are buying now. We can move cassava oil palm from Asemko. We can move it from Akitechi, and all of those communities, you know, to the market center. So, in fact, we are looking forward to that. But again, it has to do with commitment, right? If you wanted to make a point, then we
I mean, commitment and the money involved is so important. So far, the finance minister yesterday explained that any form of gains or windfall we'll get, we'll push it to the big push. And in fact, we shouldn't forget that we've had year of roads before. And if you are a regular user of the Spintex bypass, and let's say the new Spintex flyover, you see how important that road is. So it tells you that if government is investing in road, it doesn't just affect inflation. We usually will care so much about inflation, but productivity is so important. How people move between cities and how people move between towns, also very important. And so to have that sort of commitment to construct roads is so important. But the key thing is that you have about 30 billion Ghana cedis in road arrears and all owed by Cocoa Board. I don't know, but I pray and I hope that this big push agenda that we are talking about, we don't add cocoa roads, because we all know how that vehicle called cocoa roads has actually slapped debt on the state. Because how can you have arrears of close to about 68 billion and more than half is coming from the road sector? Because one thing we know is that government gives out contracts, and then people start constructing roads. They don't do the roads with their own money. They don't construct the roads with their own money. They go to the banks to go and borrow. If they go to the banks to go and borrow and government doesn't pay them in time, what happens? Non-performing loan ratio goes up. Currently, I always say this, with the commercial banks that we have, every 100 cedis worth of loans that they give out, they are not able to recover about 27 cedis or 20 cedis of that. So it means that if government is paying, is clearing arrears, focusing on roads, paying contractors, it doesn't just solve an economic problem, but it also saves the banking sector, which struggles with non-performing loan ratio.
Let's go back to your smart wall.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a success story also in the energy sector. The energy sector, our energy sector over the years has become a debt-making machine. And in fact, the IMF program is really focused on the energy sector because of the current mix we have, where about 70% is coming from independent power producers. Many have said it's a big national security threat. It means that in an instance where we can't pay these IPPs, the country will be in doomsday. But the hope is that once you're able to keep the cedi stable, you'll be able to pay fuel supplies, you'll be able to pay IPPs, and they will generate, and the power will stay stable. But I think that going into the second half of the year, one thing that will be so important is how to keep the light on, because you need energy to run a stable economy.
Interesting. So that's it. But Carl, we didn't come to you for your take on the big push. Dr. Carl, I mean, you are in Cape Coast. I'm sure if the road from Cape Coast to Accra is dualized, it will take you, say, an hour to get to Accra to do business and go back. What's your own view about how big push can then help transform the economy of Ghana?
Okay, thank you very much. As you've stated, if the roads are good, and we're currently having the construction of the road from Bujumburam to, Bujumburam to Winneba. And then looking at it is a good one that we have. You know, the concept of the big push is enshrined in economics. That says that when you have coordinated and large-scale investment in multiple sectors of your economy, it boosts economic growth that you have. And that has been practiced in several countries around the world, and that is where they work. The construction in terms of roads, not only roads, but you are investing in industry, you are investing in the human resource, and you are making sure that everything that you are doing it on a larger scale to be well. The roads, when they are constructed, it's 9 hours. One, you are going to create a lot of market. You open the place to businesses that are going to be established. You will add value to the lands around the area. And then what is going to happen is that the roads are good, goods are going to be seamlessly transported to the market, and that will make sure that the prices are down, and that goes to reduce inflation that we have. The big push alone can serve as a source of job creation for a number of Ghanaians that we have. When these businesses are the ones who are Ghanaian companies, and they are creating the jobs that we have. And we will also have people having saved money from repairs in cars and all those things. I have used the Accra Road within this month like 2 times, and my car is currently at the repairs because the roads are very terrible. And so when we have good roads that are there, you realize that your disposable income is higher, and you can go ahead and then buy goods at the farm gate. Not only transportation that is causing it, the market women and men who transport these things from the farm gate to the marketplaces sell at skyrocketing prices, and that is also affecting the rate of inflation that we have. We should also not just say big push, we are constructing roads, but we should construct quality roads, roads that stand the test of time, and then the weather conditions that we have here. We should not construct roads and within 1 year we have potholes on the roads that are even more dangerous. When we construct good roads, it saves lives.
Okay. Okay.
The next person that will be dying on the road might be the one that will be something great that will happen to our country. So we make sure that we do these things. Another thing that we can also look at in terms of the big push is that we have a lot of river bodies. Why don't we construct and make those places streams? I was surprised when I heard that the fisheries sector is contributing so much to the growth in the first quarter of the year. What has changed all of a sudden? So the fisheries sector is very important, and we are not told which is it, the artisanal fisheries sector or the trawlers that are contributing. But I'm very sure it is the trawlers, because the artisanal fisheries, they are virtually out of business because they are not making the catches that they want to make. But in terms of tuna and other fishes, they are making it in Ghana waters that we have. So if we make the big push something that we all understand, it creates the jobs. It is going to be something big that will happen. But we should not concentrate on only the roads. We talk about agriculture, we talk about industry. It should be linked to the 24-hour economy. And once those things are done, perfect, we are there to go.
Okay. Mary, I mean, when government says it will do something great, we'll applaud it. But we've seen in this country so many times when government will say something, but the commitment to do it is something else. Do you have that belief that this government will have that commitment to do whatever it says it will do under the big push?
So, you know, we've discussed about roads, and that's part of expenditure.
Yes.
The question is, where is the money coming from to fund this? If you look at the revenue mobilization or government's domestic revenue and grants, you'd realize that for each of the lines, there was an increment, or government is doing more than it had expected to do. So, if, for instance, taxes from income and property, they outperform what they were expecting to do. taxes on goods and services, which covers excise duties, VAT, the levies. They did more than what they were expecting to do. It was only on international trade taxes. That was where there was a shortfall of 1.6 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you realize the government is doing well as far as domestic revenue mobilization is concerned. They need to sustain it at least for where they have outperformed where they were expecting. And then for the areas where there was a shortfall, I'm glad that the minister has actually outlaid plans that they're going to follow to make sure that these gaps are actually closed. So we need to make sure that the money is coming in to be able to fund these roads. So government's commitment also boils down to the money. Okay. If the funds are available, I don't see why the government will not be able to follow through with its commitment for the big push. Yeah.
Mary Kwating Dako is Associate Director, PwC. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Dr. Sierra Kawo is a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast School of Business. And I'm happy about the performance of the agric sector. We haven't seen much from the government side. It tells you that really the main thing is coming from the private players in the agric sector. If that's the case, then government, we have made that case that you need to support private sector players in the sector for us to keep doing whatever we're doing. We've now realized that when we focus on agric, we can really help turn around the economy. This is where my joy is, because it's making a good statement for us players in the agric sector. Thanks to Kofi Ajay, who is our lead research and data analyst here. And thanks to you for staying with us. This is the AM Show. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Do stay.
Many thanks for your time. It's still the AM Show on the Join Us channel. Let's talk about the National Agribusiness Dialogue 2025. I have in studio Hayfron Abwaje. He is a partner and director at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Amajan is a gender, youth and social inclusion personnel from Agri Impact Limited. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start with you, obviously, because it's a ladies first. Introduce us to this agribusiness national dialogue that you have coming on. Is this the first time it's happening?
Yeah, this is the first time. Thank you very much. So the National Agribusiness Dialogue is something that has been started by the Ministry, the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. So it's something that was started by that ministry, and then with in partnership with Agri Impact Limited, as we mentioned, PwC, and then the Development Bank of Ghana. So this dialogue seeks to identify the challenges, the teething challenges in the agribusiness space. And then, so we've called several experts, industry experts, stakeholders. We've all come together. So on that day, we are all coming together to identify the challenges, bring solutions that will be fed into an agribusiness policy, which we will use as a nation. Like, this is the agribusiness policy that will lead us into solving a lot of employment or unemployment situations in the country, especially for the youth. So this dialogue is just like a stepping stone that is going to inform us on what policies, direction should we go into.
Okay.
In terms of agribusiness.
Yeah. And Hayfron, usually when there's a national dialogue, it means that a group of people have identified some gaps in the way we do things or the way we progress in various sectors. And so what key challenges have you identified so that we understand what solutions you hope to proffer at this dialogue? What challenges are you trying to solve?
Right. Thank you. I think as we know, agric is a very critical sector of our economy. But we also know that there are quite a lot of challenges. Access to market, access to finance, access to raw materials by these industries, are very, key challenges, and not to mention, climate change. So the agribusiness sector is going through quite a lot of, challenges.
And we believe that bringing these key stakeholders and industry players would actually offer that platform where these ideas can be shared, and then we should be able to leave the forum with very concrete, ideas on the way forward in terms of how we can support the agribusiness industry to run. And I think, like Amma said, this is the first of its kind that the Ministry of Trade and Agribusiness is championing. And I think that from a policy direction perspective and bringing all the key actors, together, we should be able to, like I said, leave that room with very concrete plans that can address some of these challenges. So, like you said, you have finance, sector people, DBG, and most of these financial institutions come in.
As a way of teasing our audience so they can actually, get interested and attend or tune in to listen to this dialogue, who are the personalities to look out for? Who are the people who are, are actually locked in this conversation? From the Finance Ministry, for example, who's coming? Who are some of your speakers, I guess, is the question.
Right, thanks. I think this forum is bringing the president, to the platform. This is something that he's passionate about. So the President of the Republic of Ghana is coming, and I believe that you will hear, of course, his vision linked to the 24-hour economy and how agribusiness is going to play a key role in that. Certainly the anchoring, ministry, okay, in the person of the minister for the ministry is going to be there. We have key, other key speakers. Vish Ashagwa, who obviously is the country senior partner, and PwC is anchored as a knowledge partner in this. So we are going to, of course, be there. The Ministry of Finance, certainly, like you said, is going to come. I think once the president is coming, certainly you expect the minister or his appointment.
The whole entourage, once the president
absolutely
is
to come. Agri-Impact, of course, who is anchoring, Dan Akwe, of course, who, in terms of anchoring this program, also with support of the ministry. So we have a lot of
the details are on your screen right now. So there you have it, the National Agribusiness Dialogue. So, Amma, let's talk about when and where and who's invited.
Okay, so the dialogue is happening on Monday, 28th of July this month. Yeah, and the venue is Kempinski. It starts at 8 a.m. and we are ending at 6 p.m. Yes, it's a whole day, very packed program. So we are ending at 6 p.m. As to who is invited, it's strictly by invitation. But then general public, we are invited to also watch because there will be live streaming. So we are also invited to watch. And then there will be where you can even bring your input so that we pick it up and add it to the dialogue. We don't want it to be...
So there's audience participation?
Yes, there's audience participation. So you can put something there. If you have to, there's a chat part that you can put there, your chat, what you think the direction should go over there, then we'll pick it up.
Because you say it's strictly by invitation, finish what you want to say.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that, we expect around 250 to 300, high-level, stakeholders cutting across senior government officials, like I said, agribusiness executives, those obviously development partners, the likes of the MasterCard Foundation, the World Bank, the African Development Bank. We're also having commercial and impact, financiers, and then the farmers, who also are very key. They are the reason why we are organizing this. So we expect the farmers to be.
If you had left that out, they would have had your head.
And youth. We have some youth also representing.
Yeah.
Youth groups representing. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So because it's strictly by invitation, is it still open for people to request to attend, or it's closed? No, it's a targeted. Did you do target picking in terms of who can attend? Is that option completely exhausted?
Yes, we did a targeted invitation, but people can still find out if there's space for them to to attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I'll give you 30 seconds each to maybe give us a wrap of your thoughts, and I'll start with you, Ama.
Yeah, so I would say that the agri-business dialogue, this is the first of its kind. So everybody should bring their attention to it, because agribusiness has been here with us for a long time, and it has the potential of absorbing a lot of young people into employment. So let's all put our attention to it. It has the income generation aspect and then the employment. So let's all contribute to making it a success.
Okay, that there is Ama Jan, Gender, Youth and Social Inclusion Expert, and she's with Agri Impact Limited. Hey, Fran, you have the last word. Well, thanks. As PwC, our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And we believe that, agriculture is such an important element in our economy that we want to be part of. And therefore, we are very, very keen to see to the success of this and other initiatives and interventions that will come within the agri sector. So we're counting on everybody and everyone to support in this direction. And as a firm, as PwC, we are on board. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Is there a number to call in case someone needs more clarity or more information on anything? If there's a number to call, let's put that out there now.
Yes, so there's a number to call. You can reach out to us on...
But you're on social media. There's a page for it as well, right?
There's a page for it, which is, I'm sure, showing on the screen.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Let's get the number. What's the number?
0244 57 3595. That's 57 35 95.
All right. So Hayfron Abuaje is a partner director, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ama Jan, Gender, Youth and Social Inclusion Expert with Agri Impact Limited. Thank you, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you, too.
Now, before I go, if you're looking to do things differently, to level up your skills and get ahead in this challenging job, then this information is for you, because statistics show it's tough out here for university graduates, with only a few of them landing jobs immediately after school. Doing things differently is what the Design and Technology Institute is all about. DTI offers programs ranging from precision welding and fabrication, design innovation, which includes graphic design, sound engineering, animation, photography, and the most pivotal one, entrepreneurship. Our programs are internationally recognized by the American Welding Society, Pearson BTech, and CTVET. So you can either shine right here in Ghana or anywhere else in the world. If you're ready to do things differently and chart your path, then check out DTI. Visit dtiafrica.com/admissions for more information, or simply call 054-169-3534 for more information. We'll take a quick break. When we return, there's more action on the show, as well as E-Corner with Noella Karinyale. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. I'm sure in the beginning of the show, Kojo told you that we'll talk about uterine fibroids this morning. And so that's the time now for us to have that conversation. I have in studio with me. Now, before I even introduce my guest to you, you should know that uterine fibroids are very common and they're affecting a significant percentage of women. And this can have a range of impact on their health. Approximately 20% to 80% of women will develop fibroids by age 50. I want to introduce my guest to you now in the studio. I have Dr. Paddy Aite from Elimas Health, and he's my guest to share his perspective on this matter. Thank you, Doc, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start from what exactly are uterine fibroids?
A uterine fibroid is a non-cancerous growth. Starts in the muscle of the uterus.
The muscle?
Yes, it's in the muscle of the uterus. It has a long word, long name, but what you call it is, everybody calls it fibroids, or as our people call it, fibros. But essentially, it's just a growth in the uterus. And what happens is that the uterus is designed to carry babies. And if the uterus is not able or allowed to carry a baby for whatsoever reason, an environment is created that allows some of the cells decide that I am not going to continue this. Estrogen wake up, progesterone go down, estrogen wake up that we have with your menstrual cycle every month. then one cell decides that, you know something, I am not going to be controlled anymore. So that one cell, stubborn child, divides into 2. And those 2 divide into 4. And the 4 divide into 8. And the 8 going to 16. And then it keeps growing. So it starts from something which is smaller than a pin and eventually grows to something that's bigger than my head.
And this is a natural occurrence simply because your system gets tired of the ovulation and menstruation.
Sometimes the lack of ovulation without the fact that
fertilization.
When you are pregnant, those hormones go on leave. So the uterus takes a break from those hormones, and then you have the pregnancy, then you deliver. After you deliver, you are breastfeeding. Whilst you are breastfeeding, prolactin levels are high, you still have a break. When your menses resume after you stop exclusively breastfeeding, you see, exclusive breastfeeding has other advantages. After you stop exclusively breastfeeding, then the hormones come back. Hopefully before a cell starts misbehaving from overexposure, you get pregnant again. So the pregnancy becomes very protective against having uterine fibroids.
Okay, so what's the difference between uterine fibroids and polyps?
Okay, so a polyp is so fibroids are firm, nice, basically hard. Polyps are soft. So I'll describe a polyp in the uterus. It's a growth in the middle of the uterus where the baby sits. So the uterus has got a small space that is, in real time, it looks like this, but if you put in water, it actually is like this. And the polyp, this is the space the baby sits in, and the polyp grows inside here. So I'll describe it like your tongue in your mouth. So there's a procedure that we do where we take a telescope and go through the vagina into the uterus, and you can actually see inside. And then if you put the water in, you see the polyp bouncing about inside. They cause cramps, they cause bleeding, and they act like a family planning. So they prevent you from getting pregnant. So some people are walking about, they are not getting pregnant just because they have a polyp in their uterine cavity or they have a fibroid in that location. And because that place is occupied, when the pregnancy comes, it comes and says, oh, there's already a tenant in the one-bedroom apartment, and therefore I can't stay.
Okay, I know this is not actually part of our conversation, but because we're in the uterus, let's stay there. What about cysts? Do they fall into this category? Is this similar to a polyp?
A cyst is outside the uterus, typically on the ovary.
Okay.
There can be other cysts.
Okay.
And sometimes in the muscle, but that makes it just complicates the discussion.
All right.
But when people refer to cysts, it's usually a swelling containing fluid, usually on the ovary. But occasionally it may contain fat, hair, bone, funny things.
Yeah.
There's a particular kind of cyst that when you cut it, it doesn't look nice at all.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, how exactly does this impact the health of women? And looking at the statistics that we just put out there, it looks like it's a fair number of women who would experience this at some point in their lives.
Oh.
How does it impact them?
Most women, like all over the world, it affects women of all races, but the black race seems to get it a lot more. And if you're doing like a pathology, like autopsy, almost every woman autopsy would have a fibroid of some sort. Most women would get it by 50 years, most women will have a fibroid or 2. Some don't have, they are the blessed ones. The impact is, if the fibroid is in the middle of the cavity, the space I was telling you, or the polyp is there, it causes cramping, it causes bleeding, it causes infertility. If the fibroid is in the muscle, that is the wall of the uterus, it can have some infertility impact, but the main effect is that just the mass and the bulk. Then there's a fibroid which is on the outside, and that causes constipation because it can press your rectum. So now fecal matter cannot drop because it's pressing it. It causes frequency of urination because it can press the bladder. So your bladder that should be big like this now has become like this because the fibroid is indenting inside, and so there's no space for urine to accumulate. So you realize that every few minutes you have to go and urinate. And it's not a small amount too, it's a moderate amount of urine. It could be because the fibroid is pressing. And then it causes your tummy to get big. A lot of you have got big tummies. It is fat, it's not a fibroid. However, for quite a number of people...
like our fupa. Don't you?
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
Okay. So I want to...
But for a lot of people, that mass could actually be a fibroid.
Okay.
And it can be as big as, something very small, tiny like this, and it can be as big as this. So there are actually people whose tummies are this big, and it's because of a fibroid. The largest I've taken out is, I think, 21 kilos.
Okay, this is my last question, but 3 in 1, because we have to go, which is 1, how do you know you have fibroid or polyps? 2, how do you manage or treat it? And 3, is it a death sentence?
For most people, it's heavy bleeding. Most people complain about heavy bleeding. Other people complain with like they're not getting pregnant, and then we discover that they have it. And then for the other batch of people, their tummy is getting big. But if you get heavy bleeding, and it's especially those with cramping, most likely it's a fibroid that is causing it. Treatment options. There are medical options to keep it calm, but it will not, they are not long-term sustainable. Usually it's a surgical option. If it's very big and it's on the outside, you can cut and remove it. If it is small and it's causing the bleeding, you can go through the vagina, actually remove it from inside without cutting you at all.
Yes.
That's the one that nowadays the people like doing it. And every week we do several of those surgeries. Is it life-threatening? People have died because of excessive bleeding. And if you have it, get it out of the way so that the rest of your life can continue. Productivity goes down. For some people, for 5 days of every month, they can't function. Excessive bleeding, have to wear diapers instead of sanitary pad.
Doc, I wish we had more time to get into this. Perhaps we will invite you again so we can spend more time and educate our audience on this very important subject. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
That's Dr. Paddy Aite. He's a doctor at Elimas Health, and he's helping us understand what uterine fibroids and polyps are so that you can be cautious. All right, so coming up next, some amazing children are joining me in the studio. After this, we'll be right back. Well, I'm sure you can see from behind me that we're going to get into some food conversation, and I have some 4 beautiful young women in the studio who are the 4 finalists for this year's Big Chef. Big Chef?
Good Meals by Kate.
I love that. And it's an all-female finale. And I want you to introduce yourselves to us and tell us how the journey has been for you. I'll start from the extreme right. Darling, what's your name?
My name is Bubune.
Bubune, how has the journey been for you so far, seeing as you are a finalist now?
Yeah, it has been tough sometimes, and sometimes it has been excited and nice.
Okay, excited, nice, tough. I like that. Who's next?
My name is Sewa.
Hi, Sewa.
Hi.
How's the journey?
It's very good, and since when I started the competition, I made up my mind I want to be like Laura, who won Star Chef for 3 times, and
okay,
it's come true.
It has come true. Well, congratulations, my dear.
Thank you.
And next person?
I'm Nicole.
Nicole.
The journey has been tough, but sometimes it's exciting.
Okay, and finally?
So I'm Mona Lisa, and sometimes it's tough, but I'm still in the kitchen, so...
Yeah, you've all said that sometimes it was tough, but you made it to the top of the competition. And this Sunday, we are going to look at your journey. So on the 3rd of August is the grand finale. But this Sunday, we'll be showing you, our audience, how they have come into this finale so far. I'll give you 30 seconds each to tell our audience to vote for you, to watch the show, so that they can enjoy everything that you have been doing in the competition so far. I'm starting with you now.
So to vote for me, you can now star 711, star 60 hash, and choose option 4 and watch all it. Watch it and you will love me.
So you are option 4?
Yes.
Thank you. And you?
So to enjoy more of my meals, dial star 711 star 60 hash, and I'm option 2, Nicole.
Okay, so Nicole for option 2. You have to mention your name for option 4.
I'm Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa for option 4, Nicole for option 2.
My name is Sewa. Thank you all for voting for me, but please, I still need your countless votes, especially Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Behinase West Redemption Congregation. Please vote for me by dialing star 711 star 60 hash. Choose number 3, Sewa.
Sewa for number 3. And the very last person?
So to vote for me, dial star 711 star 60 hash. Please choose option 1, Bubune, and follow the prompt. Thank you.
Bubune for option 1. Ladies, I am so proud of you. I wish you the very best. And on Sunday, we get to see how you made it into the finale. But on the 3rd of August, who walks away with the ultimate title as Big Chef for 2025? I wish you all the very best. Big Chef?
Good Meals by Kate.
All right, so there you have it. Make a date with us on Joy Prime on Sunday. We're bringing you the road to the finale, where you get to hear their personal stories and how they made it into the grand finale contest. And on the 3rd of August, we'll bring you that grand finale. That is Big Chef Season 4. All right, coming up next, Noella Karen Yale serves you E-Corner. Don't go away. All right, so you're welcome back to the AM show, but of course it's now time for E-Corner with your favorite girl in the world, Noella Karen Yale. Or am I not? I am, right? Yeah, and so you're welcome once again. I hope you've got your teacups ready. Well, actually, we're not gonna go for a breather because they've taken all my time, right? So I'm just gonna go straight into our story. So once again, you're welcome. Let's get into it and talk about King Paluta. Now we're going to begin with King. For those of you who do not know who he is, I'm sure my director is going to put his picture up on your screen. So that's who he is. He's a musician. You know him for quite a number of songs, including Apeke, which was the song of the election season or period last year. So yeah, he's a fantastic musician. Now he had, there was a show organized by a group of women in the UK, London to be precise, and he was booked to perform at this event. And I think while he was performing, he cited one lady actually, right in front of him while he was performing. And apparently the lady wasn't really jamming to his performances. It's like she was just standing there looking at him with some off attitude or something like that. And he did not appreciate it. So what did he do? He decided to put that lady on blast. He blasted the lady live, okay, during his performance. So he halted his performance actually and decided to deal with the lady. I don't want to talk too much, make it look like I'm making up stories. So take a look at the video.
You don't give a fuck about me, I don't give a fuck about you. Trust me. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, trust me. I don't think you're coming for the carpet, young boy.
Not too proud of that moment, but hey, I'm not an artist. I'm not in his shoes. Nothing should justify, you know, a man insulting a lady using words like, I don't know, I don't want to repeat the words, but obviously, if you understand Chi, you heard what he said in Chi, a whole lot of unprintable words in that dialect. I don't think there's anything worth justifying that, you know, action. But like I said, I'm not a musician. I'm not in his shoes, or I wasn't in his shoes. I cannot feel exactly what he felt that elicited that kind of reaction from him. But since the release of this video on social media, a lot of people have gone at him and, you know, lambasted him. A lot of people have asked that he is stripped of, if he has any ambassadorial deals or whatever, he's stripped of it. A lot of people have asked for him to actually apologize, you know, make a public apology. He hasn't done that. He has actually released a single. A lot of people think it's a diss track to some of the pundits, radio and TV pundits that openly lambasted him. Likes of, you know, there's this guy called Bull God, who actually called him a fool for doing what he did. But there's a reason. This happened weeks ago, and there's a reason why I have brought it back. And that's because his colleague musician, Famie, came by the Hits FM studio, had a fantastic conversation with Kwame Datsi, and he was asked that, I'm sure you've seen, you know, this video trending of your colleague, you know, insulting a woman during a performance. What do you make of it? And then he said, listen, I can relate to what he saw or the experience that he had there, but I would have done something different if I were in his shoes. Take a listen.
So this happened to him when he was performing, and I don't know, as an artist, if you are performing like that, you have that reaction. Somebody is bringing you energy, or somebody is giving you some bad reaction. How do you handle that?
Please, bring energy. Say it in English.
Honestly speaking, it is not new. For me, I think, and you see, when I saw some of the headlines, I read some of the comments, and will be commented. The person was like, "Nah, Faluta no eden nipa ebrebe no eden say," but you don't know when you are performing, you see them. Yeah. They are there like that. I don't know how to explain it, but you are honest, truthful, knows as an artist.
Wow.
Yeah. No matter how thousands of people are jamming to you, that person that is draining your energy away, you are going to see that person.
Really?
And I relate to what he saw, but I don't relate to the reaction.
Okay.
Yes, what he saw, I relate to so because me, this am DJ, a bit to me, and my cousin stand. Hey, Obini me chewa how? Obini but Obwa Peter ane de Jumano. Tonyo na mabedu na wenim na me tonyo because I feel like my voice will hit you.
Yes. Overpower.
So I'll do it, then I'll see you singing. But you see, sometimes na nkofoni bi ni nemu. Into utumu say
nkofoni.
Eko super mu. Eko super. Charlie ento wada o. Ene na mabeta na me cheche mu say nka me but ebi ana tija. Na
boom.
Yeah, na boom. But
abomination.
A boom mama me countless time, but say me di attempt there, me nye bi da. But
I mean, for me as a very witty musician, if you ask me, I don't know why he's doing music. He probably should do comedy or something because he's very, very funny. Anyway, so basically what he was saying is that he has had experiences like that where you're performing and you have quite a number of people standing in front of you and they're not jamming to your songs, right? It's like they're just standing there. They're indifferent about your performance. And that for an artist, I can understand or I can relate, okay, and see how that would be a bit draining. But again, why focus on the few people that aren't jamming to your performance when you have a crowd actually jamming to it? Why not focus on the people that are actually enjoying your performance? Why are you know? But anyway, I can't. That's the experience, right? So yeah. Anyway, let's move away from Familia and talk about Kewa. Or maybe because of time, let me shelve Kewa for next week probably and bring you Kamido. Kamido came by the Hits FM studio. He is on a tour, a media tour, promoting a single. I've forgotten the title, so if I remember, yeah, I'd share that with you so you check it out. But yeah, he came by the Hit studio. They had a beautiful conversation as well with Kwame Datsi. They spoke on a number of issues, including love. Now in Ghana, it is very weird to see older women dating younger men. I mean, if you should see a couple and you realize that, oh, the man is way younger than the lady, oftentimes you would judge, that lady, probably call her a cougar or something. And so that question was thrown at Kamido, that what does he make of that dynamic, older women dating younger men? I mean, we've seen artists like Kiddy, who has openly declared that he finds nothing wrong with it. He actually has dated somebody older than him, right? I think he has a son with a lady who was actually older than him. And so that question was thrown to Kamido. What do you make of it? Well, it's interesting what he said. Listen.
Well, the Kakpi did the Nyanga fan sometimes. Nyanga did the Kakpi fan like sometimes. Like I'm trying to say, young man can marry an old woman. It's allowed. Old man can marry young man. It's allowed. If young man, young girl is allowed. There's no formula, It's when the synergy is there, then you know you can actually make it work. Because they say when it's love, they say age is just a number, you know, but there has to be love that bonds the two people. So truly it's also like the, you know, availability of that relationship, you know, and you don't, and things like this, you don't force it. You don't go chasing because like just because someone else had done it, that means everyone else is like something is also on a checklist. Everyone else has to do it. No, I feel like we have our own times of doing stuff. So for me, I would love to do that. However, I wouldn't want to force it. I wouldn't want to go and chase it and get it done before maybe a certain time.
All right.
Like I believe God is.
All right. So you heard from Camido. Says he sees nothing wrong with older women dating. Says, actually, there's no formula to expressing love, which I agree. Would I date a younger man? I never say never, but I'm not sure because I don't have the hearts. I don't have that kind of... My director says, I don't want to babysit. Yeah, I don't have the hearts to contain, you know, how people would see me and lambast me and all of that. So yeah, nah, I don't think so. Anyway, let's move away from that, but still stay in that area because in that light, rapper Medical, after his public, you know, breakup with Fela Makafui, I don't know whether it's right to call her his former wife because I haven't seen any divorce signed papers. So let me just say estranged wife, right? After his public, you know, breakup with her, we all saw that he started moving, you know, fishy with singer Izzy, who is actually older than him. Way older, actually. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, maybe it's a fling, you know, it's nothing serious. They're just gonna knock it off and yeah, call it a night or something. But it's actually serious because this week he came by the Hit Studio, had a conversation with Andy Dusty, and publicly declared that singer Izzy is his woman. Or yeah, Megay in his words. Listen.
We've been seeing lately with musician Izzy. Almost every time we've seen you and musician Izzy. What's going on?
Izzy first lady?
Izzy, baby, yeah, first lady.
That's my woman.
When you say your woman, what, your girlfriend?
My woman, my everything. I go be by you anything. Yeah.
So she's your girlfriend now?
That's my woman. That's my babe.
People have been saying that she...
Me girl, no, no. Me fem paddy, no, no. Girl, no, me catch her now.
Wait. Because are you son with the Bible? Don't joke with the Bible.
No, I'm not. You see what they try to do. Fatwa, me Bible.
Hey, Fatwa, hey! Who do you know about the Bible now? No me. In fact, wait, what those account? No me account. And to see a baby, you know, what those can be. Well, rumors are flying around that you had been seeing her even at the time you were married.
This one, you see Andy. And he just want to give me some problem.
No, me, I'm reading comments, so I beg. You know, be saying just that problem. Most of them, since me, I deceived them.
Again, no. What's up?
Is it okay?
Me get. Me fem.
He pay me give cause he go take do what it at day we interfere. Remember that song? Anyway, he check like the take do or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's actually sad, but I still have hope. Okay, I still have hope. I'm still rooting for the Fela Makafui medical relationship. I feel like they ought to come together, you know, for that little beautiful girl or daughter they share together called Island. She's so pretty, and I feel like she needs that balance. You know, she needs a home to grow up in and have that balance, have that 360 full love, you know, at home. But anyway, that's it for the stories. Unfortunately, I have to get out of the studio. Time is up. And so that's all time will allow us right here on E-Corner. Oh, I love that shot. Shouts to you, director. And up next is, of course, Mami Thompson with Joy News Desk. Enjoy. Wow.